Hey everyone, welcome back to Indicted TV. I'm your host, Negra. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram. Before we start, gotta give a shout out to my sponsors, Royalty Honey. Keep it hard, guys, and it's also for the ladies. You don't need it right now because you're already pregnant, Mitch.
Exactly.
Also, if you're in Paramount, make sure you go to Fatimas Grill in Paramount for the best jewelry for his glory. On today's episode, we have Nancy. Welcome to Indicted TV, Nancy.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Nancy Elizabeth, Brow Barbie LA. So,
Tell me where you're from, where you grew up, mom, dad, brothers, sisters. How was the inside of your house growing up?
so I'm the oldest out of 7. Yeah. And my brother, Xavier Second Chance, that you guys might know, he's my only fully blood brother. So we have the same mom, same dad. I have 4 sisters. They're from my dad. And then another brother that's from my mom. So everybody's halfies.
Except Xavier.
Yeah, except Xavier. So my parents, they had me pretty young. They had me in high school. So they're kids themselves. So I feel like I kind of grew up with them. And they weren't really fully ready for me at that time. I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. I can't really say that I really had like the most stable household. I kind of like was here around everywhere. My parents were still kind of getting their lives together. So with that being said, it was just kind of like we got dragged around. But I will say that my stability were at my grandparents' house, which my dad's mom was in Pacoima, and then my mom's mom was in Granada Hills. So right around each other, but in the San Fernando Valley. So I think that growing up, it was like everybody else, you know, like there's no perfect childhood. Yeah. There's ups, downs, rounds and rounds, you know. My mom and dad, they split up like around the time I was like 5 or 6 years old. And I think that that's when things just kind of went downhill for us, for me and Xavier. So Xavier was probably like 2 years old. And he doesn't really remember much. He doesn't really remember them being together at all. But I remember everything.
Yeah, you were big. 5,
Yeah.
5, 6, you already, you remember everything.
Mm-hmm.
And which is like, when you remember, like literally like the whole sponge, you know, it's like, oh, your kid's a sponge. Like literally 5, 6 years old is when they go to kindergarten and they start learning everything that they learn for their whole lives.
Yeah.
So you definitely remember everything that you went through. You know, as far as like your parents getting divorced, where you went, everywhere you went, things like that.
Yeah. So I think that my parents were like married for like a year before they divorced. They had been together since high school. But after my mom and dad broke up, my dad totally just
left.
He went downhill.
Okay.
He didn't know how to cope, I guess. Like, kind of just went back to like what he knows kind of thing, and which was drugs and things like that. And then my mom, she was just so focused on like creating a better life for us, that she went to school full time and she worked full time. So she worked nights and she went to school days. Like, so we barely, we barely saw her. But I knew at that time I didn't understand, you know, too much. But now I know now, you know. And my dad, like he's a gang member and things like that. So it's kind of like he just went back to, and I think that's kind of why they broke up. Like my mom was starting to elevate. My dad was kind of comfortable, I think, and like he maybe wasn't meeting my mom where she was at, and I think maybe they got tired of it. So I'm not really sure. Like I just know that it was a little bit toxic. And so growing up, that kind of affected my upbringing because I had to grow up really fast. And as my dad kind of declined in life, I had to like pick up my big girl pants and I had to be mommy for my brother, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, my grandparents were there, my aunts, my uncles, like everybody helped raise me.
Because they knew that your mom was doing all she could. It's not like she was sorry, excuse me. It's not like she was like out in the streets. She was actually getting herself together. She was doing the best for her babies.
Yeah, they were doing the best they could for their age, like for their circumstances, like for what they knew, you know, at that time. And unfortunately, it's just kind of like kids, they get the shit end of the stick, you know. Well,
Yeah.
when kids have kids, it's like it's hard, right? You're not ready. You're
Yeah,
not
and
ready.
that's something that kids, young teenagers, need to actually take into consideration, like listening to these stories. And it's not like, oh, we're just saying these stories. No, it's, you know, it's your story, yes, but it's could be everybody like other people's stories as well. As far as like, hey, listen to what she's saying. Yes, you think you're in love.
Yeah.
Yes, you. Oh my God, I want to have a baby. Like, no, you don't. It
Comes
is
with a
not that
lot of
serious.
responsibility.
Like, wait for you to be
Yeah.
each other 5, 6, 7, 8 years
Yeah.
to see where it goes. At least, you know, like live life. Don't have babies because it makes things. Yes, after you have your babies, oh my God, you know, I wouldn't be able to live without my kids and da da da
Yeah.
da.
I
But
mean,
it
they're
does make hard.
they're a blessing, but it's hard when you're not ready.
For sure.
And then when you're struggling, they're gonna struggle with you.
And it's sad because the only ones that really go through it is the babies. Yes, you as a young mom are going through it, but that was your choice.
yeah, yeah.
So now you gotta do what you gotta do, you know?
yeah, and like my dad, he didn't really like move on like from my mom for like years. Like
Oh, he was stuck on that.
yeah, and like my mom would try to move forward and get boyfriends, and like
He would ruin it.
it was crazy.
I could only imagine.
Yeah, like I think I remember like one time like he broke down a door that was like even chained up, like, and I was like, the hell, like
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
because
super traumatizing as a
Yeah.
young kid watching that happen. It is traumatizing.
yeah,
Because we're not understanding. Like, we just know that we see our dad going crazy because mom doesn't want to let him in. But mom has all the right not to let him in.
yeah, it's, and like I know like during those days and those times, like he was doing the best that he could. Like I throw no shade to my family. Like I love all my family. Like even if I talk to them or I don't talk to them, like everybody just played a part in our upbringing, and nobody really walked my walk or my brother's walk. Like nobody can really tell us how it went for us. Nobody woke up every day, put the shoes we put on or were maybe forced to put on. Like we had to grow up pretty quickly, and but if it wasn't for all those things, I honestly I don't think I would be as strong as a person like I am now. And even when I went to prison, you know, like that kind of all prepared me for just everything I went through in there as well, you know. And you know, my dad was in and out of jail. I have family members that are in prison. So it was not like I didn't grow up like thinking like prison was bad, kind of, you know, like
It's like normal.
yeah, it was like normal. Like even one of my aunts, like, you know, she did time too, and it was just like it's just normalized. And like I didn't understand until I was in there facing my situation, like this is what they're going through. Like, damn, like we normalized it. Like Christmas would go by, all these holidays would go by.
Oh, he's just in there.
Yeah, he's in there, like, you know, talk to him on the phone. Hey, like, what's up? How you doing? Kind of thing. And it's like, damn, like they're suffering. They're suffering, and like, you know, some of them are not coming home, and it's very unfortunate. And me and my brother, we did fight a life sentence, and like I felt that pain. Like that's something I wouldn't even like wish upon my worst enemy, you know?
sure.
Just because it's like, I remember I wrote a poem in there, and I was like, I don't know what's worse, being told like you have stage 4 cancer, or being told like you're gonna live your life, but you'll never have the life that you'll live again.
Especially
you know?
like your situation, which we were gonna get to it because I obviously remember the part. I remember
Yeah.
I remember the reason why you guys went, but obviously that was your brother's. That was your brother's story that he told. You're gonna tell us your story,
Yeah.
which is obviously the same case, but it was happening to you.
Yeah.
So, okay. So your parents go through the, your parents leave each other. You're still like 6, 7 years old. You have to, you're moved around, but you're taking care of your little brother because your mom's going to school full time, working full time. So you're bouncing around, not literally bouncing around,
Yeah.
but you're your tias, you're your grandmas.
Yeah.
Because mom's
we're
at work.
everywhere. Yeah. And so the majority of the time because my dad lived with my grandma, right? So
Oh, so you see your dad every day.
yeah, I see him, but not really because he gets on one and he leaves, and then but when he's there, it's still he's not in the right state of mind kind of thing. So I think like 6 years old, like that's when he would start heavily using, and he was very like cold-hearted kind of with us, and he kind of raised us in a way that wasn't like, I knew he was just teaching us how to survive, but I stayed in survival mode for the most of my life. And like he would make me use me and my brother as entertainment, kind of like with his friends, like kind of raising us like soldiers in a way, and like he'll be like, Mija, come over here, you're gonna go beat your friend up. And I'm like, well, I don't want to beat my friend up.
You're smart. You didn't know anything better.
And he's like, if you don't beat them up, I'm gonna beat you up. So then I would just turn around and just go after them. And like, so I think at that age I started learning how to disassociate from certain things. Like I knew I had to do what I had to do, and like I didn't have fear in doing things, I just
he
did
took
it.
that out of you.
Yeah. And like I wanted to be a boy when I was little. Like I was like, I wanted to be just like him. Like he would take his shirt off, I would take my shirt off, like we would go walking at the train tracks with our dog, and like we even got pulled over one time because they were like, is that a girl or a boy? And then he's like, a girl, because I would be walking around. So I looked up to him a lot,
It's your dad.
I did, yeah. And he loved us. Like he loved us. Like he had his issues, but
that's still dad.
Yeah, he was still dad. And so like growing up, I started becoming a little bit more violent. Like violence was okay. Like I think like in first grade, that's when I got in my first fight, like over something stupid, over like something like this girl like talked to me disrespectfully. And I'm like thinking now, I'm like, okay, I was really young for me to even have that mentality.
For sure.
Yeah. And
for sure, because that's like something that you get taught.
Yeah.
For example, this is just a little example of my personal life with my son. And it's just, and I'm only saying this like, no, you guys, I'm not making it about me, but it's just like a little example. We take our son somewhere and there's like bigger kids being like, they'll throw him the ball hard or like, and I'm like, no, you throw it the same way. And it's just like us, like they're innocent.
Yeah.
So we have to teach them like, hey, no, you got to defend yourself, not remove the fear. Like what they did to you, because you already like were just like fearless.
Yeah, me and my brother and my brother was just naturally like that. Like people were like, he was like 2 years old with a 6-pack. I'm not kidding. Like he already was riding a bike like at 3 years old with no training wheels, like jumping off of trash cans over the cement. Like he did not care. Like we were like little savage little kids. Like we were always trying to make money too. Like I remember like us and the neighbors, like it's not like how it is nowadays. All the kids are on their iPads and stuff. Like no, we were out running the streets. Like we were always trying to make $1. Like I remember like one of the neighbors, like they're just as daredevil as us, and we're like, okay, we're gonna tie a rope to the highest part of the tree and you're gonna bungee jump, and we're gonna ask people to pay us $5 in order to see it. And like,
oh yeah, you guys are little hustlers.
Yeah, so like, yeah, we did it one time, and like they're like, okay, we're gonna pay you $5, and they jumped, and then the body was just like snap in
so
half,
bad.
and they didn't even pay us, so we stopped doing it. But so yeah, like
basically you guys were just like little savages.
Yeah.
But not on purpose. You guys were just, that's just the way it was. And you know what? I feel like back then, I'm obviously older, even like before like your age, it was just kind of normal.
Yeah, people can be around out. Like it wasn't like, now it's like scary. Like kids are getting snatched off the streets. Like
yeah,
now it's kind of like, okay,
like
now
you don't
you gotta
want that
watch
for
them.
our babies.
Yeah, now before it's like, like kids in Mexico just running around everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, just like that. Those, they're like raw.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know, mi niño, like, no, baby, like I can't help that.
Yeah.
And that's probably how you're gonna be as well.
Yeah. And so like, I think that just like a big part of growing up was, I mean, who you are is developed from the ages 0 to 7.
Yes.
Like whatever happened to you then, those are your fight, flight, or freeze responses. And I was taught to fight, so I don't freeze. Like I don't run. Like I'm a fighter. Like to the end, and I don't even think about it. It just happens. It's just my natural response. So I think that kind of like is the reason why I started like getting in trouble in school. I think middle school is like when I just decided like I hate school. Like I don't like it. I was always kind of not like I was never like athletic. I was never academic. Like I didn't have a lot of confidence growing up. Like I never thought that I was pretty. Like, cause kind of growing up, like they call you fea or they call you gorda, and you're not fat or you're not skinny.
Yeah,
Like so
and you're not ugly.
Yeah, so it's like I kind of like it keeps you humble, you know what I'm saying? But I think that
It
I
hurts
just
you in
had
the
a
long
low
run.
yeah, I had a low self-esteem, like no confidence, and it just like school wasn't for me. Like I was never like a social butterfly. Like I always felt I was an outcast kind of thing. And that's kind of the way that I just went throughout life until probably about high school. And like 8th grade, I used to ditch so much and I used to leave so much that they would call my dad to come get me. My dad didn't even have a car at the time. He had to like take the bus and come get me. And they're like, okay, we're gonna print all her tardies and her absences and all this stuff.
Yeah, and you
right?
were just never there.
Yeah, and like I remember he was like, what the hell? Like where do you go? It was like a stack like this. They're like, she doesn't
where would you
come
go?
to school. She doesn't come to school, so like we're kicking her out.
Yeah.
So I never really finished the 8th grade. And where I would go is like I would like run out of school. Like I would like throw a pencil out the open gate and like walk past the little door to see if anyone was in there. And if nobody was in there, I would like pick up the pencil and I just take off running. So I would like go to the park. I would go with like friends, or I would find teachers that would let me go in their class all day. Like, so it was just kind of like I didn't have like a drive or anything. I was just kind of like there. And then so my mom, like she had like different boyfriends like in and out, and the one that I think that I met that she was with for like 10 years, and I despise him. I don't like him. He's not a good person. She stayed with him for 10 years, and I met him when I was 13. So he's an ex-addict, and he actually had a home for kids that were addicts, like a youth home. And so he, I feel like, played a huge part in the reason why I failed in life. But I didn't know that the whole time we were living with him and everything, that he had a mental illness. So I didn't find out until they broke up, which was 10 years later.
After he already did what he did.
So I'm young at the time, so I'm just very impulsive. Like, I don't know any type of emotional regulation, anything like that. So I'm impulsive. I'm a hothead. Like I told you, I'm a fighter. So he wants to start arguments. He wants to pick at me. And I feel like he wanted me out of the house, right? Or he didn't like me or whatever. And like, he would talk shit about my dad. Like he just was not a good person. And he met my mom at work. So my mom's a nurse, right? And he was a nurse too. But
so he thought he was better.
He thought he was better. He told me one time, like, my dad came, because, like, anytime my dad knew there was, like, another man in the picture, he would have to meet them. And he would just, like, let them know, like, if you touch my kids, you say, like, you're not his dad, you're not their dad, you're not her dad, like, don't fuck with them, right? And I guess, like, the time that he went, because my dad's, like, term is, like, he takes people around the block, right? Takes them around the block. Sometimes it come back, sometimes it don't. So he took him around the block, literally, and
let's go around the block real quick.
Yeah, and so okay, the old stepdad, his name was Brian. So Brian's like, yeah, your dad had a talk with me the other day, and he's like, and I just thought to myself, okay, how would I treat an animal? he's like, he's sweating. You can tell he's on drugs. How do I treat an animal who's out of control? Like, so he was referring to my dad as an animal, right? And he's telling me this at the time, and I'm like 13, maybe 14 years old. And I'm like,
Oh, you're pissed.
I'm like, I'm like, an animal, and I'm just listening to him, and I'm just like, all right, something's not right with cuz, like, something's not right with him. Like, the first day I ever met him, I don't just instantly not like people. And I've till this day, I've never met a person that the second I lay eyes on this person,
you don't like
something doesn't sit right with me. I've till this day, not even in prison, not like how I felt like that
with
day.
that fool.
And so I used to go to my brother's elementary school after, because I used to pick him up, right? I used to walk down there, and I was playing with the kid, and the kid threw a pencil, and it hit my eye. So it hit my eye, and like I couldn't open it. Like, so I guess it punctured my cornea, and I had to go to the hospital. And so I'm laying there, and because I told you he's a nurse too, right? So I'm laying there, and he comes in, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Brian." He's like, "Sorry we have to meet like this," or whatever. And like my heart sank. Like, it was weird.
Like, you already knew it was him.
Something was, yeah, like, and I was just like, something just sank. Like, the energy was like,
Not good.
no, I still don't, like, have you ever seen the movie Stepdad?
I don't think so.
Okay, there's a movie. There's a movie, and me and my aunt, she's like 2 years older than me, we were watching it in high school, and she was like, why does this movie remind me of Brian? And it's about the stepdad trying to kill the kids.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, it's a horror film.
Shit.
And I was like, dude, I was thinking the same shit.
So Brian is doing bad.
Yeah, so anyways, we moved in with him, and like everything seemed...
Your mom's all in love.
Yeah, we went from sharing a freaking bed, me, my mom, my brother, and my freaking dog, little ass dog, sharing a bed, one room, into moving into a 2-bedroom house. So we went to this nice house that had a pool and everything. Like, we were excited, right? But it was like a double-edged sword. Like, everything looked perfect from the outside and everything, but on the inside, it was just something was wrong with this guy. Like, he was in the Navy. His background was like, seemed normal, right? But I didn't know that he had, like, I guess, like, bipolar.
Like, he had PTSD or whatever from did he go to the war or some shit?
I don't know what he did. I know that he went there straight out of high school.
Yeah, I thought he was doing bad then.
So, I don't know, but, so he had that. I told you, he was an addict. He had this home. And at 13, I was, like, I always had this, like, motivation to hang out with older people. I don't know why. I wanted to grow up too fast. I always felt like people my age group, maybe I knew too much. I don't know why. I always felt like I didn't fit in with them, you know? So I was always around older people. So in middle school, I'm already hanging out with people in high school.
Yeah.
So that wasn't good for me, because even though I felt like I knew too much, I was not like at these people's level yet. I don't know that much. And I would lie about my age. Like, I was just in a rush to grow up. And that came with partying and everything. I started smoking
meeting boyfriends and all that.
Yeah, I started like smoking weed, and then but like I really wouldn't. I would just like when I would smoke weed, I wouldn't even get high. Like, I don't know if I wasn't smoking it right. Like, I don't know why I would do it. I would just do it. And then so
I know what you mean.
So anyways, but like I wanted to be like cool, like I don't know, I just wanted to be like cool, like, and
I know
so then
what you mean.
Brian would be like telling so me and my mom used to be really close, like,
Until Brian came in.
yeah, and he told my mom, you're not her friend, you're her parent, so you gotta stop acting like her friend. So it caused this huge wedge between the relationship of me and my mom. And like I think like probably like as soon as I met him, like my mom, she was like, okay, I have to take your phone away. And this is like when we had like little flip phones still. And she's like, Brian thinks I should take your phone away because you didn't get good grades, or you got like a D or fail or something like that. And I was like, okay.
All of a sudden.
Yeah, like, so he started punishing me, right? And then he would try to manipulate my mom into like saying that I was doing drugs, which at the time I really wasn't. Like, I had tried smoking weed, or whatever, but it wasn't like something that I did all the time. And like I was constantly getting harassed, like interrogated, like they would hit my room. Like it was crazy. Like I learned, like once I was in prison, I was like, this literally reminds me of me growing up. Like already know where to hide everything, because I'm already thinking like I'm living with that's how I was like living with the cop. That's what it felt like, And then so like being young, I'm like, if I'm getting in trouble for all this shit anyways, I might as well be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of like manipulated and like created this like really negative like perception of me, and I don't know why. I don't know if he was trying to get me out of the house. I don't know. But by the time I was 14, I was like already living on the streets. Like I was gone for so long, they made missing posters of me.
Really? And you were literally living on the street?
Mm-hmm. Like wherever I could. Like even I was staying in my best friend's closet. Like I was just staying wherever I could because I hated living at home so much. And then my dad, he was still like doing his thing. He did get in another relationship. But
It was
he wasn't healthy, but he ended up getting healthy with her like a little. I think by the time I was 15, he started like getting his life together. And so that was like a big thing too, because I feel like, okay, both my parents, they remarried, they got with people that I felt me and my brother were not accepted. Like we were like an issue. Like even like to my stepmom, like to this day, like she's just like, my sisters would have their own room and me and my brother on the floor with the cockroaches. You know what I mean? And so it was like always apparent like that we were unwanted. And also I'm biracial, so I already grew up very confused. So like my dad is Mexican from Michoacan, and then my mom, she's European and Native American, mostly white, right? So it's like for her family, I'm not white enough. For my dad's family,
you're not Mexican.
I'm not Mexican enough. So I'm already like getting treated like, mostly, I mean, not really from my dad's family. I feel like, sometimes like they'll make fun of us or something like that. Like they'll call my brother Güero because he looks really white and stuff like that, So, but as a kid, you're like cursing your kids, like, because kids don't know. Like words cast spells on kids.
For sure.
And
I agree.
So it created a lot of like, I had a lot of anger and animosity, and I didn't really know why at first. And then I told you I was like I was running away. I was like on the streets. I started doing drugs and like, I dealt with like a lot of sexual trauma and things like that. And I got tired of running because I knew they were looking for me, and I knew they were coming for me this day. And I was just like so tired, like, because I didn't have a will to live. I didn't. And that was the sad part. It's like, I didn't have a will to live. Like, I remember like thinking like, oh, when I was doing these drugs and stuff like that, like I was like, I remember one time I overdosed, and they knew I was overdosing, like, give her milk, right? And I remember thinking like, damn, like, is this it? And I kind of felt like a little bit of regret, but then I also want to just let go, kind of thing.
Oh, babe, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it was just like, I think that I was sad.
Yeah, you know what? You have all the right to feel that way. When we're so young, and when people, now that I'm sure you're older, I'm older now, and I know how it is to have like one man and then get a divorce or like break up, and then you have another one. And your story kind of sounds kind of like mine. Like my mom having a boyfriend. It's like, I'm over here freaking going back. And it's just like, we don't know as parents the shit that we cause our kids because of another person in their lives.
Yeah. And that's why I'm like, I don't like, I can't hate kids. Like, I don't care if they come from another woman. I don't care. Like, being like where I was in life and how much that affected me, it really just makes me sad because of their insecurities about themselves or whatever. Like, a child coming from another person, then you shouldn't have gotten in that relationship.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you shouldn't be in that relationship because you're supposed to love the person and everything that they come with.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
So for you to treat a child who has no choice in who their parents are, what they chose to do, like, you have no choice. So for an adult,
Like either love them or keep it pushing, bro. Like
yeah, for
don't
an
try to
adult,
be mean to the kid.
like to take it out on a child, like I don't respect people like that. Like I don't respect anybody that harms and intentionally or is jealous or envious, whatever their problems are, that's personal, that projected onto a child. Like I don't respect it. And
Facts.
then so then, like, you know, me and my brother are really, really close. So what I went through, he went through. And I feel like I was always protecting him. And then because he was a boy, he kind of got it a little bit worse from my dad. Like more like hitting and stuff like that. Like, especially when he was high, like, be like, I'm not raising a bitch kind of thing, you know? So I would always be like in defense mode, protective mode, like survival mode, like, you know, and then like, cause like, yeah, like my dad, like I knew if his leg was shaking at night, like we would wake up, he wouldn't be there. Sometimes we wouldn't come home for weeks, you know.
And then you're stuck with the lady there.
No, that was like at my grandma's house.
Oh, okay.
She got pregnant right away with my dad, and she would use with my dad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she got pregnant right away, like months or whatever. And so I think she was sober during the pregnancy. My dad went to jail because he started like having like these like, I don't know, I guess I would call them like a like divine intervention or something. Like so pretty much like the first time I ever went to church, I was 15, right? And like we grew up Catholic, and she's Christian. She comes from a Christian household. And I don't know like if it was because of her or like her introducing it to my dad or whatever, and he was still getting really high, and like he would be up for days, and he was in the shower and he kept hearing like this voice, and he's like, so this is what changed his life. He's like he kept hearing like the truth will set you free. He's all, what? And he's all like opening the curtain, like he's sticking his head out the window, like he's like, who's saying that, and he heard it repeatedly.
Oh, it was his time to get sober.
So then my grandma's making him breakfast, and he's like, Mom, like I'm hearing like this, I keep hearing this voice, right? And like she could have said all the things in the world, right? But she's like, es el Dios, like it's God. And he was like, what? Like, why would she say that? Like, instead of like, you know, like talking shit and like, oh, it's because you're on drugs or like whatever, that's what she said. So then he was like, okay, like, so whatever he was doing at the time, like to support us and his habits, whatever, he like went to the guy and was like all right, I'm not gonna do it anymore. And he's like, man, you're high, you're on a good one, like you'll be back, like whatever,
for sure,
this and that. So he told his, I think at this time I was at my other grandma's house, and he stopped by with his friends, and he'd be like, he's like, all right, mija, like whatever you need, just tell this guy, like he's gonna take care of you, like I'm gonna be going away for a little while. And mind you, this happened a lot. Anytime my dad did anything really bad, he'd be like, mija, I might be going away for a long time. Like he would just have this guilt, right? Mm-hmm. And he made me watch the movie Blow. Have you seen that?
Yes.
With Johnny Depp, when I was like 9 years old, from front to finish.
Dang.
Yes. And he was like, because I'm like, no, I want to go play. He's like, no, you're gonna watch this movie, like you can understand, like this is what I do. And the reason at the end, he's like, the reason why I want you to understand this is because I don't want you to hate me at the end, like how the daughter hates the dad.
Yeah.
And he's like, you have any questions to ask me? And I'm like,
yeah, that's crazy.
why do you do it?
Yeah.
So he tells the guy, like, oh, let's, you know, I'll smoke you out, whatever, and we're gonna go to the beach. So he's like, he was wanted in 3 different counties. So he was like, okay, I know that Ventura County, you get 3 hot meals a day. Like, I'm gonna go there first. So he's, in his mind, he's gonna turn himself in. But his friend doesn't know that. He's dropping him off to do that. So he was like, okay. So at the time, I think like the Sidekick was coming out. And I was like, well, I want this. Cause like my dad, he was like, he'll give me whatever I wanted. It just wouldn't be from the store. Like, he'd be like, okay,
I'll get it.
He would take us to the store and be like, what do you want? And we'd be like, want this, and this. And when we leave the store, but like maybe like by the end of the week, we'd have it all.
Okay.
You know, so
He'll come up somehow.
yeah. So I was like, well, oh, you're going to leave? I'm like, well, when are you coming back? And then I'm used to it by this age. And I was like, well, I want a sidekick because like, that's a new phone that came out and like it was cool, like I wanted it. He's like, all right, whatever you need, just tell this guy. I never even met this guy a day in my life. So then he goes and he's like telling the guy like make a left right here, and they're like smoking, they're like on the way over there. And then the guy turns, he's like, oh shit, this is a police station. He's like my dad's like, leave me here. He's like, no. So he turns himself in, and that was like his own little spiritual journey,
Awakening,
whatever.
yeah. So what happened to you?
So during that time, I was with my mom and Brian mostly, and I'm in high school already. So I'm already like doing my own thing. Like I'm already like, my dad always taught me like, oh, it's okay to steal, mija, as long as you don't get caught, right? So I'm growing up with this mentality. Like I went to 6 different high schools. Like I did not do well in high school. So I think at this school I was like watching people. I would watch people open their first 2 numbers of the code. Like if I see something that I wanted, that they had, like I would like scope them out. I would watch them. I would
dang.
Yeah, I would look at the first 2 numbers of the code that they would put, and then I would look away. Right? But I always guessed the last one because I knew nobody ever put it on 0, and I would always get it. Eventually I got caught doing that, and I would get it and I would resell it, you know, because that's like how I would get, because I would go like to my my dad's house sometimes, and like they would never have food. Like my sister, like we would always be hungry and stuff like that, and I didn't know if it was because like we were just coming over and like they didn't want to have food there, or like, but whatever. I was
my
hungry.
goodness.
Like, yeah, so that's why I started doing things like that, because I wanted money in my pocket so that way I could buy food for the house, right? And then like we would go to the store and we would steal food, like never at my grandma's house or anything like that, like
or your mom's
or my mom's house. We always had food, like it wasn't like that, but it was only there like with my stepmom and stuff,
and only when you guys went over.
I don't know if it was only, I feel like I started asking, you know, like, because, like, I would ask, but I don't know, because, like, I didn't know if they, I think at that time they were struggling, because we used to get food from the church, you know, like, donations and stuff like that. So I know they weren't doing good at the time.
But you'd rather be there than at your house because of Brian.
Yeah, it was like, there's no, like, I always wanted to be with my grandma, like, at my grandma's house. And, because like my grandma's, like both of them, they're just so like unconditional love. Like even when my mom and Brian would punish me so much, like even my grandma got tired of it. One day she's like, here, I'm giving you a phone, like don't get caught with it. Like they would slide me stuff on the side because like I would just get mistreated.
Yeah, like
they would be so hard on me. I don't know if it's because I'm the oldest child, because my brother did not get this. I don't know if it was because I was a girl or what, like, but I didn't care. Like, I really didn't care and nobody was going to control me. I've always had a problem with authority. Like, it was just, like, I was, like, always a bat out of hell. Like, you're not going to tell me anything. Nobody's going to force me to do. I was so defiant, and, like, that's just how I was going through with life.
Your whole life, yeah. So, at what age did you ever go to juvenile hall?
Thank God I didn't.
Oh, well, good.
But, I mean, Brian tried to put me one time, right? I stole his car and I crashed it. And he called the cops on me, but I think I just got lucky. I went to rehab like at 15 or 16.
Okay.
So I was in rehab. That was like, I was there for like a month, and then I was doing good for a little bit, and then I just kind of went back to the same thing. I did do better though after that, because I think the therapy like that they had helped there and stuff, it did help. Like, because at first I just kind of had no awareness of like my life. I thought life was just life and I'm just lifing it, you know? So
for sure.
I didn't have any type of awareness that other people weren't growing up like this. So it wasn't until the therapist was like, because I'm talking to her, I'm talking to you, whatever. She's like, I need to know, kind of like, and I'm like talking. And she's like, I need you to understand that this is not a normal upbringing. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, that nobody's ever told me that before. She's like, well, you're like, you have a lot of trauma. And I was
You just
like,
didn't think it was trauma.
yeah, I didn't know. I had no idea. So I was like, then it brought an awareness, but then it kind of made me feel angry towards my parents. So like, yeah, she was telling me like, oh, okay, like life doesn't have to be like this. Is pretty much what she's trying to tell me. But I don't know.
Life still doesn't have to be this way.
Yeah, and
So tell me, did you finish high school?
so my last year of high school, like I did it from like a continuation,
Okay.
and that's how I finished. Because by that, like by 11th grade, I was like, I just can't do this school thing. Like I can't. I'm too overly distracted. The whole time I'm at school, I'm getting high. Like no matter where I go, no matter what school I'm put in, like
You're high.
yeah, I'm not learning anything, and I knew that. So I was just like, all right, like I'm almost an adult. Like I had met my baby's dad like at 16. That's when I started to kind of like calm a little bit down. Cause like I didn't have a care in the world kind of thing. You know, I didn't have like a limitation. You know how people get scared, like they limit themselves.
You
or
didn't have
something?
fear.
Yeah, I didn't have it. I didn't have that. There was no limitation. So like when I met him, I was like, okay, he has a car. He was like 2 years older than me. He has a car. He could take me here, 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 and there. But he would like watch me and be like, what the hell? Like
you doing?
this girl's gonna die. Like everybody would always like look out for me out on the street because they'll be like scared for me. That's how much drugs I would do. That's how much like
What
if
type
it
of
was
drugs were you using?
anything.
Okay.
Anything. Like anything I could get my hands on. I was not doing like heroin or anything at that time. It was like more like pills though. Like Xanax, Roxy's, coke, meth.
Okay.
Like anything. I was like garbage
Just not
disposal.
heroin, yeah.
And so
Garbage disposal is definitely you've been to NA.
well, and it's like normal when you grow up in LA. I feel like, especially when your family's on drugs.
Yeah.
Like on both sides of my family, there's both addicts, and it's just very normalized. Like I used to go to NA and AA with my aunt, you know,
Yeah,
and
just because she was your babysitter, probably.
and so it was just like no, like I never had any type of fear of drugs. Like I know people probably say like don't do drugs or whatever, but it wasn't like I couldn't wait to do it because I was just like, oh, like I want to see what I'm missing out on because my dad always chose it over me, kind of thing, you know.
I see what you're saying.
And then like everybody was always saying like, oh, you're gonna end up just like your dad, or like they would say little things like that, and I'm like, well, what's wrong with my dad? You know,
didn't think anything was wrong with him?
I didn't think anything was wrong like at all. So he kind of raised us like with this mentality, right? That kind of set us up for the reason why I ended up in prison and why I handled the situation the way that I did.
Do you want to tell us about the situation? Tell us what led you to prison. Tell us, what happened.
So because like I was used to I grew up being loved like in the not healthiest way. That's how I received love, right? Especially because like my dad really didn't give me a lot of affection, but he would like sock me really hard, and he's like, you're gonna learn how to take a hit. My mom's also a 3rd-degree black belt, like, so I grew up even with professional fighting. Was always violence was always like just introduced in my life, and it was like
Normal.
that's just the way I solve things all the time. So I was never afraid to fight, never afraid to harm anybody. Like I felt the stronger that I was, or the more I could harm somebody, the more powerful that I was. So nobody like said it was wrong in my family. I didn't grow up thinking that it was bad at all. So I would get in like relationships, right? And with my son's dad, like I had a baby like at 19 years old, and I was with him for 2 years before I had him. And my son, he calmed me down a lot, but I wasn't ready for like my baby's dad. Like he was the complete opposite of me. Like I felt like he kept me alive for those years, right? And then my son kept me alive after, right? Because I had like this motivation for life now, like this purpose, and I felt like a love that I never felt before. but it wasn't enough because I didn't know how to love myself, because I'm just getting love from external things and people, like, and like I did have a will to live after my son. Like, he totally changed my life. Like, he was my angel. And but I didn't know how to love myself still. So after, because of my trauma and I was unhealed, I had told my son's dad, like, maybe like a couple months after he was born, and I was like, you know what? Nothing ever lasts in life. So we might as well break up right now, because I don't want my son going through what I went through as a child, and I don't want him getting used to you being around. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, things don't last. I was like no, nobody. And I never actually seen, like, and now I know why I think like that is because there's no successful relationship in my family, like none. Everybody, even my grandma, like from my mom's mom, my mom's dad slept with her best friend and they're married now.
Oh, so yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so it wasn't, I was like, okay, I just thought like nobody lasts. And I was like, okay, why am I going to put my son through something and wait till we fall out? Like, when I can just end it right now, protect him.
I understand what you're saying.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to protect him. Like, this is how I was like, I had to protect him at all costs, kind of thing. I had to give him everything. I had to make sure that what happened to me does not happen to him. Like, that was my drive and my will. So after that, I cut him off, and then he was just like, then it was like a back and forth thing, and he was just like, no, like, you literally are doing everything just because you want to party. And at the time I didn't realize that, but I guess it kind of was. I just wanted to do whatever I want. I wasn't ready for a kid at all.
Oh, you probably weren't ready for a relationship.
No, and I thought that, like, it was gonna fix me. Like, I wanted to be normal. I wanted to be able to, like, go to school, hold a job. Like, I wanted to do any of that. No, and I will say though, because my cousin, she's the first one to ever finish school in our family, and she's an attorney now. And so she did get me a job at 16 years old at a law firm. So that was when I was exposed to money and like a higher life. And I was like, what the hell? Like, this is like, how are these people living like this? So that kind of like, I still wasn't doing good, but it did expose me to another life. So I wanted money. So that became like another drug to me. And then so after I stopped being with my baby's dad, I was still doing what I was doing. I was still doing drugs, drinking, partying, and I got into another relationship right away, and he was like abusive, right? Mm-hmm. And he was very abusive, and like we would fight, and one day he comes at me with a knife when I'm in the shower, and then he's like holding this knife, and I was like, what are you doing, right? And he's drunk out of his mind, and then he's like he's looking at me, and like he doesn't know what he's gonna do or something, and I'm like, and then he just starts cutting himself, right? And he starts cutting himself, so I'm going and I'm like reaching for the knife, and he pulls it, and he almost cuts my finger off, which is this one right here. And I had to go to the hospital. So my mom works in the hospital, so her friend saw me in the hospital. Mm-hmm. And my mom's friend, so I get stitches, and like the whole thing, like they knew something was up. I was like, oh, I cut my finger because I'm moving, and I cut my finger with a knife, and they're like, all right, this isn't even adding up, kind of thing. So then he's like, has like this mental freaking breakdown or something, like
your ex.
Yes, the guy that I'm with. Yeah, the abusive one. And he goes to 5150 or whatever, and my mom's like, I had went before they took him, and then I guess he destroyed the whole room after I left, right? And he went to the mental hospital, and my mom's friend reached out to me and was like, look, I'm not saying that you're in an abusive relationship. I just want you to hear me out. She's like, I'm from Pacoima. I grew up there. Like, I'm not dumb. Like, I know what I'm seeing, and something's not right with this guy. And she's like, if you're not going to do it for you, you need to do it for your son. And she's like, just hear me out. She's like, I work in the hospital. She's like, so you may not intend like for anything to ever happen to your child, but she told me the story and I'll never forget it. And this is kind of like just what molded my entire protection around my son. So she told me that there was this girl that was with a guy and she had a child from somebody else that wasn't the dad, right? And wasn't the boyfriend. And she was in an abusive relationship. The baby was like 4 or 5 at the time. And they're getting in a fight, and the boy's natural response is to, protect his mom because she's getting beat up or whatever. So the guy pushes the baby back, and, he might not know his strength. He's angry. He's not paying attention. He just like this. Well, the kid flies and hits his head on the table, and he dies because he gets a brain bleed. And she's like, if you're not going to do it for yourself, you need to do it for your son.
That happens to a lot of people.
And I was like, that same day, I packed up all my shit and I left. Because I was like, if I don't care. Because my son at the time was 1 year old already. He's walking and he would be there when we were fighting. And I'm like, he's not going to remember, he's too little or whatever. But I was like, no, I can never I can't hurt him. I can't let him be around this.
So what happened?
So I left and but I was still unhealed, and every relationship that I got in was the same thing. It was the same thing.
So what led you to you're sent to your prison?
So the next guy that I was with, I don't know if it was the next guy or two, I don't remember, but it was another relationship. And because at that time I'm 20. When I went to prison, I was 22, so he probably was the next. Cause I'm partying. This part of my life was a blur.
You're just a mess.
I'm all over the place. I'm trying though. I'm still working at the law firm. I'm trying. I'm like a functional addict at this point. I'm still taking care of my brother. My brother moves in with me. He's 16. He's a mess.
And he helps you with the baby while you're at work.
Yeah, he's a mess. He's very focused on basketball at the time. He's having issues with Brian. They're getting down. They're fighting. And I'm just okay, you got to stay with me because I already know how Brian's just triggering. He wants everybody out. So long story short, I get with this guy. I meet him at a club. And at this time, I'm doing modeling, I'm partying. I'm just living a fast life, And I go to this club, and it's weird. Something told me not to go that night, and I was just whatever. I'm still gonna go. It's my friend's birthday. It was raining, whatever. I still go. We go to Club Lure, whatever it was called, and I meet this guy, right? And he's a rapper, whatever. This and that, and nothing happens. I go home that night, but I had given my number. And he doesn't stop texting me, calling me, texting me. I'm ignoring him, right? And then he has me on Instagram or whatever, and he's liking all my stuff. He's being very persistent, right? And that time I was kind of good being by myself. I wasn't with nobody. I was having fun. I was living with my mom at the time, but I was never home because I was always out. And so he just let's hang out, and I'm should I not? I don't know. So I hang out with him, and then he kind of opens up to me, and he's living in his car. He came from another state. He's I'm about to get signed to this record label, this and that. And he does.
Typical rapper vibe.
Yeah, he got signed to Atlantic Records. He did. He got a $50,000 advancement check. But between the time he had his money and then didn't, he was staying with me at the time, right? He didn't have anything, but
50,000 ain't shit.
Yeah, and at the time I'm okay, he has goals, which I was attracted to. So I'm okay, he has goals. He was exposing me to that life,
Mm-hmm.
And I was meeting famous people. I was going out to Ty Dolla Sign. I was kind of okay, this is my way in, kind of, because I was doing the modeling
Mm-hmm.
thing, and I was all right, this is my way in or whatever. I was always at the studio, and I started smoking a lot with him and like popping pills, and he would always tell me like, well, I'm a rapper, so like this is what we got to do and this is and that, like,
Which is not true.
yeah. So I kind of started going a little downhill with him. Like, he wasn't really good for me. He was toxic himself. And then he got that money, he blew it like
One day.
in less than freaking 2 months. It was all gone. But I live with, at least he bought the apartment for like the year. And he would drink and he would get abusive. And like, I'm used to being in a relationship like that. Like, yeah, I'm not the type of person like, and I almost don't see it as abuse, right? Because I'm fighting back. Like, we're getting down, but he's way bigger than me. So he's like, me up, right? And I'm like, all right, I know not to be around you when you're drunk, kind of thing. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, if a guy puts hands on me and I'm okay with it, or I accept it, then that's on me. But the second they do it in front of my son, then we have a problem. So he never did it in front of my son or anything like that. So it went like, we were together for like 10 months before I went to prison.
Yeah, before the crime.
Yeah.
So tell us about the day the whole, let's get to that part.
So he put me in the hospital one time, right? He like kidnapped me, right? So I'm trying to stay at my aunt's house, and we go out, and I'm like drinking whatever, and I'm like, I'm gonna stay at my aunt's house because I have work the next day. And I have work the next day, and the receptionist was gonna be out, so I had to take her place, and I was like, I could not miss, she's gonna be on vacation. And so we go, and I'm like, I'm gonna sleep at my aunt's house, and my car's there. I've been drinking, like I can't go home without my car. And like, I'm getting out the car, and he just takes off with me in there. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I gotta go to work. Like, I'm telling you to leave me here. And he's like, no. And he's like, nah, stopping. I'm like, you're literally kidnapping me right now, right? So I'm like, this fool. Like, I'm looking at him, and I see the look in his eye, and I'm like,
you already know the look.
I'm like, this is gonna be bad. I'm gonna go to this house, and it's gonna be bad. So I'm like, I'm gonna be over there, and my aunt lives in LA. He lives in the Valley. So I'm like, I'm gonna be without a car. I'm gonna be stranded. Like, I'm already thinking this is gonna be all bad. So he gets to a stop sign, and I just jump out the car, right? And I'm like, I jump and I run, and I'm hiding in the bushes, and I'm like, I'm gonna wait till this freaking guy leaves. This finds me in the bushes, and he just starts me up. And I remember he was like choking me, and I'm about to pass out, and I'm like thinking, damn, I'm gonna die in this person's front yard, right? And then like, so I'm blacking out, and then he lets me go, and I'm like out of it. He's like, get in the car. And I was like, okay. I'm like, damn, get off me. So then he goes to the car, and I'm like following him, and I stop. And then he turns around, he's like, get in the car. And like, I just hit him like boom as hard as I could, and I seen his whole jaw go that way. And when I hit him, I jumped through the passenger seat, and I jumped in the driver's seat, and I took off. And I left him there. So then I drove, and I was like, I don't know where I'm at. Like, I'm like up in these hills somewhere. So like, I park the car, and I'm already like sketched out. So I start wiping the car down, because I'm like, he's gonna say I stole the car. Like, I don't want no evidence of me. So I'm like wiping the car down. I'm getting all my stuff, and I'm walking down the street. And I was like, my aunt lives around here. So I'm walking down the street with my stuff, and then he's like walking this way, and he sees me. And then he's like in a different, like totally different, like
mind frame.
He's like, oh, we got to get out of here. He's like, we got to get out of here. The cops are coming. And I'm like, the cops are coming? I'm like, what do you mean the cops are coming? He's like, well, I'm like, why would the cops be coming? Like, how do you know that? Like, and he's like, well, because I called them. And I'm like, and what'd you say? He's like, I said that you stole my car. And I'm like, what? So I got my heel, and I just start beating him down. I'm like, boom, 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 right? Because I'm just like spazzing out, because I'm like, dude, this guy just told on me. Like, I'm just losing it, right? But at this time, like, because I didn't know that he already had me up to the point that he did. You know, you don't feel anything when you're having that adrenaline. And like, so the cops will roll up, right? And they're rolling up with their lights off. So you already know that they know where we're at, and somebody else had called them. It's not like they just were passing by.
Because you know the party's so loud.
Yeah. And then so So then they come and and I was like, oh my God. And as soon as I seen them, I just go and I sit down in the freaking curb over there, right? Because I'm like, I don't know what's about to happen. I don't know if it's because of him. I don't know what's anything that's going on. So then as soon as they get out the car, he's like, she did this to me. She did that to me. This and that. She did this. Like, he's showing like his marks on my face. And I'm like, oh, hell no. Like, I couldn't believe I was like shocked, like that he was acting like that, right? And I was like, he's trying to put me in jail. And then so then the cop is like talking to me and I'm like not saying anything, right? And then like, well, what happened? I was like, nothing happened. I was like, we're just arguing. Like, I don't know, like he's drinking or whatever. And they're like, who did this to you? And I'm like, did what? And they're like, have you always had a chipped tooth? And I'm like, I was like, my tooth is chipped? Like, I didn't realize. And he's like, dude, from head to toe, I'm not even kidding.
You're bloody.
I was bloody and I was black and blue. I had road rash on my body from him dragging me. Like, I didn't know that I was that beat up. So, of course, like, he's saying all this stuff, right? But it's because he's trying to protect himself. And so they're telling me this, and I'm like, what? And I start looking down, like, my pants are ripped. There's blood here, like, all this. Like, I was like, oh, shoot. And then so they're like, who did this to you? And I was like, well, I mean, what do you think? Like, you know, like, I didn't want to even say that he did it. And then they're like, we need to call an ambulance. So they call an ambulance, and they arrest him. Right? And then so I go to the hospital and I'm just like, fuck, like, I don't have a phone. Like, I don't know. I could only remember my dad's number.
Yeah, I feel like when it's like domestic violence kind of thing, it's like, bro, you know what it is.
Yeah. Dude, I had strangulation marks on my neck.
Wow.
They
So what
let him
happened?
out
You went to
in
the ER?
They let him out in 3 days. They let him out in 3 days. And because, well, obviously I don't have a phone. I'm not like cooperating either. Like, you know, like, I wasn't raised to be like that. So it was just kind of like, okay,
It is what it is.
it is what it is. It'll get handled a different way. Like, whatever. I'm not going to be with him. Like, that's my choice, right? So I'm back at my mom's and I'm just like healing or whatever, like recovering from all that. And then like all this stuff happens with my brother and Brian in the house. And like, I don't know, I was laying down and I could hear my brother upstairs. Like, I thought he was playing a video game and yelling at the video game, but I was like, okay, no, this is something else. So I got out of bed, I run upstairs, and he's just like fucking Brian up. Like, I guess Brian was sleeping. I don't know what he did in his room while my brother was not there, but he got pissed and he's beating Brian up. And I'm like, oh shoot. So I'm like stopping him, right? And my brother, like, me and my brother, yeah, we blank out. Like, and my dad, it's just like a family thing where, I don't know, like, he blanks out. He doesn't even realize, like, then they like lock themselves in the room and like my brother's kicking the door down. And I was like, Xavier, they're gonna call the cops. Like, they're calling the cops. Like, we need to get out of here. Like, let's go. And so I get my son, I get him. I'm like, just grab your stuff. Like, let's go. We'll go. And so we leave and we try to go to my dad's house. And like, they're like, no, like, you can't stay here. So we don't have like anything. We don't have anywhere to go. We don't have no money. We have nowhere to go. Like, we didn't have anything. I was like, we can go to like a motel, but I only have like money for a couple of days. Like, that's it. That's all I have. And I don't know what we're gonna do after that. And like, I drove to my dad's house. Like, our car's packed up. Like, we're not going back. Like, we're just tired. And my dad comes out to the car and he's like, no, like, I can't help you because of the girl, because of his wife, right? And I was just like, fuck. And I was like, what are we gonna do? Like I had a baby. Like, what are we gonna do? And I was like, well, the only option we have is to go to my ex's house.
Oh.
And then he's like, but what about all that stuff that happened? I'm like, yeah, but we were drunk. Like, I was just trying to like save us, you know? And I was like, I know he'll take me back. Like, I know like he wants me to go back. We have somewhere to stay. And then I was like, we could just save our money and figure out what we're gonna do, right? It was the worst mistake of my life. So we're living there. We go back. Of course, we're living there. I downplayed everything to my brother because I was just like, no, like, you know, like, I jumped out of the car. So, you know, of course I got hurt jumping out of the car. And like, you know, cause my brother's like, no, like he wants to kill this guy. Like he's like, we're not going over there. And I was like, no, like it's my fault. Like, you know how I get crazy. And then, you know, like it's my fault. Like I took the blame, but I was like really doing it. Cause I was like, dude, what are we going to do?
Place to go. Yeah.
So we go there and like the relationship starts up again, right? We're staying there and it's the same thing, of course, like it's abusive, this and that. So but one day, you know, my brother's not there and this guy's drinking and he don't know how to control himself. My son is there though. So remember I told you, I was like, if you want to put your hands on me and I accept it, that's fine, but the second you do it in front of my son, it's a wrap. That's it. So he decided to start arguing with me and I don't know for what. And I was like, okay, my kid is here. Like, I got to go, right? So I have my son. He's like 3 years old at the time. And I'm like, no, like, we're not going to fight right here. Like, I got to go. Like, and he's not letting me leave. And I'm like, I don't want to lose my temper, especially in front of my son. Like, I don't want him to see that. And I was like, look, I'm going to go drop him off at my grandma's house. And I said, I'm going to come back. I'm going to drop him off. I'm going to come back. And he's like blocking the door. So I was like, I started getting in panic mode because I was like, what's going to happen right now, you know? And I started like freaking out. So I go to the balcony and I was like, should I jump off? Like, what should I do? Like,
with the baby?
Yeah, because I needed to get out. Like, because I was like a ticking time bomb. You know what I mean? And I was like, I knew it was going to be bad. So then I was like, of course, he don't let me go. And I was like, no, like, he's not letting me go. Then boom, we blow up, right? I blow up. And then we start fighting or whatever. And like it goes towards the bat. I kept telling my son, I'm like, stay over there, Papa, stay over there. And I grabbed the bat on him, right? And I was like, back the up. Like, you're going to let me leave. Like, you're not going to hold me hostage. Like move. And so we start fighting over the bat because I'm trying to hit him. And then whatever, we're fighting. And I was like using my strength because I'm like, I'm not about to get killed in front of my son. Like, this is not like, it was like a beast just came out of me, right? And he's not getting the bat. So like, whatever, we're fighting. And then eventually, like, he just lets go. And I was like, I'm gonna go drop him off. I'm gonna come back, right? But he already broke my phone several times. My phone was still in there, right? And I get to the outside of the thing. I'm at the balcony. I'm like, give me my phone. And I was like, give me my phone or I'm going to come back with other people. And then she's like, I can't find it. I said, okay, say less. So I go to my grandma's house and I drop off my son, right? So I go back but he's not there. Like, he's smart enough to leave. I did get my phone. I got all my shit and I left, right? So I left and then like, so it was not sitting well with my family, like everything that was going on. They're like, you better not go back with this guy, this and that. And like, I don't know where I went after that. I think I was staying with my grandma then. And I was staying at my grandma's house. And then like, I didn't talk to him, like, and I was like, okay, I'm not talking to him anymore. Like, he did it in front of my son. Like, that's it. Like, he pushed me down the stairs with him. Like, no, like, I'm not dealing with that. So I went, I got all my stuff and I left, right? So it was like a couple months before whatever happened, right? So it was like months before and I went downhill. Like, I started stripping. I started like, because he always wanted me to make more. And like, I needed to make more money. I was not making enough at my job. I did have a good job and everything. I was still working at a law firm. Like, I was getting paid good, but I was like, I need more money. Like, I need more time with my child. Like, I need to be able to make more money. Like, so I started dancing and I was making a shit ton of money. I was making so much money and like, it was just went from one extreme to the next. So then I didn't want to be with him, right? Because I'm like, okay, like, I'm not going to be with him. Like, I have all these other people paying me now. Like, so then, but I'm still using and I'm still drinking. I started drinking more and more. And
you're just a mess.
I'm a mess. And I'm like a hot mess, a functional one. Like, one that I could portray, like, that everything's good on the outside, everything's put together, but really this is my life. And I'm telling you, but nobody knew it. Nobody knew it, like, at all. Like, everyone thinks I'm still working at the law firm. Like, I still have my car. Like, I have when I went to get that job at that law firm, that night before, I was drinking and driving, and I was like talking to some other guy. We were fighting, and I crashed the fucking car. And I didn't even show up to work that day. And I had called, and I was like, made it seem like I just got in an accident. I don't know how they still kept me. And so like, it was already like, I was already a mess, but I was lying to everybody. I was just living a double life, you know? And so once I started making the money, it's like, now I had money to do everything, right? I had all this money, like, and I was
So you thought?
Yes. And I'm just spending it like nothing, right? But nobody knows I'm doing this. Nobody knows. Like, I think eventually I told my brother, but I was like, no, I'm just kidding. Because he was like, oh, you're stripper hoe now? Because he's like, how do you have so much money all the time? And I was like, oh, I'm working for, at first I told him, oh, I'm stripping. And he's like, oh, you're a stripper hoe? And I'm like, nah, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. I was like, I'm working at a dispensary. I'm somebody's assistant. I get commission off of referring people that buy weed. And like, it was a total lie. Like, I told my mom that. I told
Everybody.
them, yeah, like, so that's what they're, because I'm like, my mom's like, why do you have so much cash all the time? I'm like, oh, because, so since I make money, I want to be able to see how much I'm spending. If I have it on a card, I can't be able to see how much I'm using on a card. So
Even though you could see,
yeah, I was like, but I need to see how much I'm spending. So then it was just like, I didn't want to date anybody. I still have all this trauma. And this guy kept trying to come back in my life.
The rapper guy?
Yes.
Okay.
He kept trying to come back in my life. I was dating this other guy, like, not really dating. I was just, like, fucking around. And I was dating a Zanny Connect, right? And he's just, like, brought up. And I'm telling you, this is, like, months after. Like, we're not even together. Me and this guy are not together. It was, like, the devil was after me. And, like, it was weird. I just kept having like this instinct to like stop what I was doing. Like, you know, when your intuition is just like, you don't listen to it. Mm-hmm. I kept having like, cause even I would smoke so much weed and I'm like, why am I thinking about God? Like, why am I thinking about God? Like, I can't, like, it would irritate me. Like, why am I start thinking about this stuff? I start feeling guilty or something. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I'm like, I'm here in the state of mind, and I'm like, okay, why do I feel like I need to go to church? But I did not want to stop what I was doing. I knew I would get convicted if I went to church, right? And I wasn't ready to stop. So I was like hanging out with my cousins and everything, and like one of my cousins puts a rosary in my car, and is like, and at the time, I don't even believe in God. That's why I was getting irritated. Like, I don't believe in God. I'm like, God is not real, kind of thing, right?
And this time, you still haven't gone to jail.
No, this is right before.
Okay.
Literally right before. So they put a rosary in my car, and they're like, you're just always up, like, this is to protect you, kind of thing, right?
Us, when we're a mess, we don't realize that we bring all that negativity upon ourselves. Like, it's us. When you're around drugs and those heavy drugs, all that's... it's just what it is.
Mm-hmm. And then like in the dancing life, it's like coke every day, like coke all the time, like you just drinking and whatever, like just to like have more fun and yeah. And then so at this time I'm like 22 years old. So I'm 22 years old. I'm stripping. I'm lying to everybody. I just got out of this like hella toxic, abusive relationship. I'm like totally unhealed. And I start making all this money. And then so I'm like, all right, now I have money to spend on this. I'm always under the influence of something now. And so I started dating this Zanny Connect, right? And he's like trying to portray something he's not. And he was from like Pacoima too, like not gangbanging or anything. He's just from the city, right? And my brother's with us, and we're like nosing it and like all this stuff. And my brother's like, that guy, he was like, oh, I heard about this guy, that he did this to you, that he did that to you. Like, I'm gonna go talk to him. You cannot say anything like that in front of my brother, because it's like a light bulb goes off. Like, oh, you want to do something? Let's go do it. It's like he's just on it, right? And he was like, oh, like, let's go talk to him then. Like, I've been wanting to talk to him. Like, he brought it up, a light bulb went off in my brother's head. And he's like, boom, I got somebody to go, like, do it. It got brought up. And he's like, whatever. So I go and I'm filling up the NOS tank, right? My brother's in the back seat with
Dude.
his wife now. They're in the back seat. She's pregnant. The guy's in the front seat. I'm in the back of the car, like I'm outside filling up the NOS, getting it filled up, right? Well, my brother catches him taking $100 like out of my side thing, like stealing money real quick. Like he thought he was gonna get away with it. And my brother's like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing?" And then he was like, "Oh, no, like he's like, that's my sister's money." And he's like, no, like I thought it was mine. Like he got stuck, right? And then he was like, the fuck? And then so he gets out of the car because he's like, look, I'm gonna act like I'm helping you right now, but this is what I just seen him doing. And since he wants to talk all this shit, he's gonna go do it. Like we're gonna take him to go. He wants to go do this and that. So we're gonna put him to the test. But when we're done making him do what he wants to do, like letting him do it, then we're gonna rob him. Well, he bitched out. Like he bitched out before, when we were on our way there, he tried to jump out the car. So I'm in another car. My brother's in his car at the time, and so we're driving, and like I don't have a phone at this time because my phone's broken again because that guy freaking broke it, or my ex, right? So I'm stopping the car because this guy's like trying to get out, and my brother, like, he's like thinking something's happening, so like he don't even park his car, and he jumps out the car and he just starts like beating him up, right? So he's out the equation, and we're already on our way there to do the thing that we're doing. And long story short, like, even though I lived there, even though like I was in a relationship with dude and everything like that, it was still like they threw the book at us. And yeah, we went to the house, and allegedly, like he was held at gunpoint, whatever, this and that. Ended up getting charged with torture, a home invasion, and 2 counts of dissuading a witness. And I knew that if I was there, that it would come back. Like I felt it. And so like when I was there outside, I was like, I cannot go in. I could not go in and do this. Like I was like, I don't even give a this is all going bad right now. I had a feeling, right? And then my brother is like, you're gonna go in? And I was like, well, I kind of like have to, because I was put in a situation, like in a predicament where it was kind of like you're never gonna have to tell me, like, if you tell me to do something, I'm gonna do it, kind of thing. And I was like, the stupidest thing I could do is go in there because he knows my face, right? And then somebody's like, well, if we're in this, we're all in this. But I think what they thought was that if I was there, he wouldn't tell. But I knew that he would, because he's like, if I can't have you, nobody can have you. And you already tried to put me in jail before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So nothing was planned. It was like a spur of the moment. It was like literally the devil just came in and was like,
We're gonna go do this.
Yep. And then so I'm like, I told my brother, I was like, you don't have anything to cover your face? No hat, nothing? And he's like, no. So I literally gave him the sweater that I had, and I was like, I have a reason to be here, you don't. So the only person you can see, like, in the cameras going into the apartment is me. But he identified him, and he didn't identify anybody else, right? So, like, he tried to make it seem like if we went over there to kill him, but really it was nothing like that. It was like, he owed me money. He wouldn't leave me alone. I just wanted him to leave me alone, and I wanted all my stuff back. But he turned it around and used his little victim card and like turned it into something that it wasn't. So me and my brother go on the run, right? I leave to New York right away because I'm like, I just had a f***ed up feeling. Like I knew it. Like I had a f***ed feeling. I was like, dude, I'm not going to see my son for a long time. Like I felt that. I was like, so then I'm like trying to call my baby's dad, and he was going to Mexico, and I was like, can you take me with you? Can you take me with you? And he's like, why? I was like, no, I like cause I did something, and like I just feel like I'm not gonna see Elijah for a long time, and like I'm gonna go to New York, like. and like I just want to spend as much time. Like I was scared. Like I felt like I knew something was gonna happen. Like I just felt it in my bones. And I take off to New York, and it was weird. I was having this dream. And so I'm out there for like a week, and like I'm like blacked out the whole time I'm out there. I'm like such a mess. And I'm having this dream that I'm in my grandma's house, and a bunch of bees are coming in the house, like yellow jackets, and I'm allergic to bees. So I'm having this dream, and they're all like in the house, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get bit, and I get bit 3 times, and then I wake up. And I was like, why would I have that dream? So then I go and I look at my phone, and my mom's like, I have all these calls, all these messages. My mom's like, what did you do? The cops are here looking for you and Xavier. Like, they're saying that you committed a crime and they raided the house. And I was like
you already knew.
I was like, dude, I knew it. And so like, then I called my brother, and he's like, what are we gonna do? Like all this stuff. I was like, well, what did you have in there? I was like, I don't have anything from that. And he's like, Nancy, I f***ed up. And I'm like, what? He's like, I left the backpack in there. And that was the only thing that like verified what he said, kind of thing. And he's like, I always take this backpack to work. And they just missed him because he went to work like at 5:00 in the morning. And they just barely missed him because he left and he forgot that backpack that was taken from the house, and he left it at home that day. And so they got it. So it like verified the story.
Yeah.
So other than that, they didn't have anything else, nothing. And except for like us going in or whatever. And then so I go back and before I get on the plane, like my family's telling me not to come back. They're like,
yeah, but you're in the United States. They could get you anywhere.
Yeah, and then they're like, just, find yourself a little job out there. Like, we'll take care of your son for a while, then we'll figure it out, kind of thing. And I'm like, the f***? I cannot leave my brother, like, dealing with that. Like, he needs me. Like, me and my brother, like, so, like, we've never been apart. Like, not a day apart.
Yeah.
He's, like, that's my ride or die right there. Like,
yeah.
I jump for him, he jumps for me. And I was like, and then I told you my cousin's an attorney, so she's like,
oh,
so she's an attorney already. And she's like, look, she's like, or she's not an attorney yet, but she's like taking the bar or something. She knows the law. She's like, there's a 98% chance if they have a warrant for your arrest that they're going to arrest you
no matter where you're at.
Right off the plane. There's a 2% chance that they won't. So I'm like sitting there and I'm like, all right, all this chaos is going around. And I was like, what's the one thing that got me into where I'm at right now? Not listening to myself. So I was like, I'm not listening to anybody. From that point forward, I was like, all right, I'm not listening. I don't care who it is. If it's my mom, my dad, my aunt, my uncle, I don't care. Like, whoever tells me whatever, I'm just going to go with my gut and I'm going to trust it because I haven't trusted it this whole time. And this is the reason why
you're here.
I'm here, because every single time something was going to happen or something bad happened, I already knew that it was going to happen before it happened. And that was my dumbass fault because I doubted myself, you know? And so I get on the plane. I'm like so paranoid. It's like the longest flight in my life. Like, I'm paranoid. I'm by emergency exit. I'm like, I see like a handicap thing. I'm like, okay, if they go in there, like I have my hood on the whole time. I'm like, I'm just go in the handicap thing and hide there. Like, cause I don't know what I'm facing. Like, I don't know what I'm facing at this time in my life. I'm like, all right, it's like,
you don't know.
I don't know. It could be, all depends on what he said. It could be like something simple or it could be something really bad. So I get off the plane and I'm gone. Like, I get picked up or I take an Uber or something and I meet my brother and he's like packed up ready to go to Mexico. He's like, let's go to Mexico. I'm like, I'm not going to Mexico. Like, I need to figure out, I'm not gonna just run. Like, I need to figure out everything that's going on. Like, I gotta play things smart right now. Like, I was like, I gotta think about everything that I'm doing right now. Like, and that, I swear to God, that sobered me up so fast from that point. I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I didn't do anything.
You needed that to happen then.
And like, because I need to think, because I was like, my brother's in this situation. They're looking for my brother. Like, and I told you, like, I protect my brother. Like, I'm like thinking about my son. Like, I'm in survival mode. Like, I gotta get rid of this problem. I gotta fix it. I don't know how I'm gonna fix it, but I need to. And so, like, so I get back, right? And I was like, what could I do? I need to try to figure out what the hell he said, right? So I'm like, I need to call the detective back. They're probably not expecting me to call, and they probably won't think that I'm gonna call, but I'm gonna call them back, and I'm gonna try to fish and see what it is that they're looking for me for, right? So I call her back, and I'm like, well, why are you guys like coming to my house? Like this guy put me in the hospital. Like, I don't understand why you guys are coming and looking for me. Like, I don't have nothing to do with that, right? And then so she don't want to tell me anything. She's like, oh, well, you just need to come in and talk to us. And I'm like, well, I'm not going in without an attorney. Like, so I need you to understand that I'm not running from you, but I need to figure out what I'm going to do before anything, because I don't know what this guy is capable of, right? And I was just like, all right, I'm fucked. Like, they're not going to tell me anything. Like, I'm not going in. So I was like, all right, like, I'm not dealing with this. So I'm like trying to figure out what court I'm going to be at. I'm at San Fernando Court, which is like the highest conviction rate, right, in the valley. And it's crazy because it happened in Panorama City. So, but because it happened across the street, I was at San Fernando Court instead of Van Nuys Court.
Okay.
So I was like, what? Like, that's bullshit. So anyways, like, we're just trying. I'm staying at my baby's dad's house. My brother's staying with me, and I'm like, we gotta go somewhere else every night. We cannot stay here more than one night. And it was like a month was going by, and my brother started getting too comfortable. And so we go to my mom's house, and then like my mom's like, oh, just come, like and eat, and then you guys can leave or whatever. Like, I want to see you guys. This is not. And I was like, I don't even want to go over there. So then we go, right? And I was like, all right, we gotta go. We have to leave. And he's like, well, like, can't we just stay here for one night? Like, nothing's gonna happen. I was like, no, like, we can't stay here for one night. Like, we were here. We shouldn't even be here at all. I was like, we have to go. And he's like, please, like, I'm tired. Delilah's tired. Like, she's pregnant. Like, the baby's tired. Like, my son. And I was just like, nah, like, we cannot. And then he was just like, come on. And I was like, fine. And I was like, fine. So, like, the house is still trashed from, like, when they raided. Like, there's not even room for me to sleep on the bed. But I'm, like, sleeping there, and I'm not sleeping peacefully. Like, I haven't been, like, for the last however long, right? And my mom calls me, like, at 6 in the morning. She's like, Nancy. She's like, you need to get out of the house. And I'm like, why? And she's like, there's a police car, a LAPD that's just posted at the end of the street. And now she's like, they might come and raid the house again. I'm like, I don't think they can come back in. Like, they can't raid the house, like, again. Like, they would need another warrant. And I was like, so I'm like, in my mind, I'm just like, so I'm like, okay. She's like, wake your brother up. Like, you guys need to go, right? And I was like, okay. So I hang up, and like, I'm like brainstorming. I'm like, okay, if we leave, then we're putting ourselves out there, which I think that's what they want. Mm-hmm. Like, if they know we're here, like going out there, they're gonna be able to get us. And I was like, I don't think they can come back in the house. So I'm just laying there, and I'm like, I'm just gonna lay here. Like, I'm not gonna wake him up. Like, I'm just gonna, like, stay here and figure out, like, okay, how could I get out of the house without them seeing me? Kind of like. And then my mom calls me again. She's like, did you leave? And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna leave yet. Like, I haven't even woke them up, like, whatever. So I go and I wake my brother up, and I tell him. He's like, fuck, I knew it. Last night I seen, like, this car going up and down the street. Like, I've never seen these cars before. And I'm like, oh my God, like, why didn't you tell me that? I was like, so I'm like, I knew we shouldn't have been here. Like, you should have just listened to me, whatever. We're arguing. And he's like, all right, right. So I leave my phone there, because I'm like, I'm not gonna have a phone on me or anything. So I was like, we have to leave the kid, like, we have to leave Elijah here, we have to leave Delilah here, like, we have to leave him here.
Yeah, you can't take them with you.
Yeah, I was like, we just gotta go. So we get in his car, and he starts driving, and we get to like, because my mom lives on a little cul-de-sac, so like we go out, and then as soon as we make a left, I see this freaking blue Charger all tinted out, and I was like,
That's them.
I was like, make a left, right? Because they're expecting us to go right. I don't think they know that we can go left, right? So I was like, go left. And then he's going. I'm like, go faster. Like, and so he's going, and he doesn't see anybody behind him right away, right? So you know what I'll never forget this. You know what he does? He goes, man, let's just go back and get them. And I was like, no. I was like, trust me, we'll send an Uber for them. No, we're
They
not
don't need to be in the car with you guys.
Yes, they don't need. And he turns around, and as he's turning around, that black Charger is coming, and he's like, fuck. And I was like, you better go. And like, because I've been in high-speed chase before, like a couple times, right? So I know you gotta make left, right. You gotta go as fast as you can. So I'm telling him what to do, and because he doesn't know what to do. And I was like, damn, like I'm thinking like I need to be in the driver's seat right now. And then we go, because I was like, they weren't expecting us to be able to go left. So they all had to turn around. Mm-hmm. So we had more time, right? And I was like, if we would have went straight, we wouldn't have gotten caught. At least not that day, right? So then whatever, we get stuck. And then I was like, we gotta go in those mountains. Like, we gotta hop the fence, go in the mountains. He's like, where are we gonna go? And like, he's like, I know somebody that lives in this house. I was like, do not knock on their door. It's 6:00 in the morning, right? And then I was like, all right. He like smashed his finger getting out the car, and he's like leaking blood.
Why did you just turn yourself in, bro?
So I told him, I was like, look, this is what you do. You're gonna stay here. I'm gonna take off with the car, because I was like just trying to get him out of like, I didn't want him to get in trouble, right?
That fool's already in trouble.
I know. So I get in the car, and I'm like, start going, and boom, like all these vans, like cars I didn't even think could be undercover, like all blocking me in, right? And then they got us. So then I'm like, they got us, and I was like, damn, that car ride was like the longest car ride. And I was like thinking like, dude, I don't know what's gonna happen.
So what did they end up charging you with?
What I got convicted was just a home invasion.
Okay.
But I got charged. I had more charges than my brother for some reason. I had like torture, home invasion, which is a 211 and a 459, and then 2 counts of dissuading a witness. Okay. And then so my brother had a little bit lesser charge, or like GBI or something like that, right? Yeah. So we go to court. We go to jail, and at first they're like, "Oh, it's a 211." So I'm like, "Yes." I was like, "That's nothing. Like, it's just a 211." Like, and then but they're like, "Okay."
So tell me about your first time getting incarcerated. Like, you going to the county. Like, how was that for you? It was your first time?
Oh yeah, that was. So we go to the arraignment, and I'm thinking like, okay, I hope it just stays at 211. No, they bumped that shit up to life. So then I was like, fuck my life. Like, I'm right? My bail goes up to 1.2 million. And I'm like, this guy is not shit, right? So I go to county, like, at first I was at Van Nuys, and it was like so disgusting there. Like, mind you, I'm kind of bougie at this point in my life, you know what I mean? Like, I'm stripping, I have money, like I'm always like, my lashes are done, my nails are done, whatever. I've never been to freaking jail a day in my life. So I go and I'm like, I am not showering here, like I am not eating this food. Like, it was a big culture shock for me. And so I'm going to county, right? I go to Twin Towers, and I'm like, fuck this. This is like, there's fucking people kicking everywhere. There's like homeless people there, and I'm just like, what the?
You're a homeless.
I wasn't homeless at the. Yeah, well, so then I go to. They sent me to Linwood, right? And as soon as I get, it's just like overcrowded. Like, so they have me in the holding tank, and then they're going in and they're telling me I'm like redlined or something, right? And I'm like, redline? What? And they're like, oh, you're suicidal. And I'm like, what?
Like,
suicide. They're like, oh, must have been from the last time you were here. I was like, I never been here though before, right? So I was like, okay, something's not right. So they automatically put me in the crazy freaking dorm. Yes. So I'm like, so I'm there, and I'm not even, like, I didn't believe in God before, but I was like tripping out when I first got there, because like before I even stepped into the pod, I'm not kidding, my name was written backwards all over shit. Like all over, like on the box, the room they put me in said Nancy backwards.
Like
all
what?
carved YCNAN. All carved in the wall, in the mirror, and I'm like, I was like, what the hell? Like, am I in hell? Like, am I alive? Like, I was like, am I alive right now? I was like in shock, right? So I'm like, I don't know. I just felt like this sense of like doom, right? And then they have me like with the crazy, crazy people like that over there. They don't let them out of the pod. They don't let them shower. And I'm like banging on the door. I don't know where I'm supposed to be, but I know I'm not supposed to be there. I could hear people screaming, all this stuff. And then like the trustee, I'm like, hey, I was like, am I supposed to be in here? And she's like, well, you look normal. She's like, why do they have you in here? She's like, this is like not, she's like, this is for the crazy people. And I'm like, what? And I was like, can you tell somebody like to get me out of here? Like, I need to make a phone call. Dude, they had me in there for 4 days. They did not let me out. They did not let me shower. They did not give me no like
Nothing.
toothbrush, nothing. My hair was like knotted up. I couldn't brush my teeth. I couldn't like, they don't listen to like to the crazy people back there. Like the cops don't even acknowledge them. Like they do not. Like it was crazy. And I was like, they think I'm one of them, right? So then I'm like, this is bizarre. I'm like, this is crazy. So then they moved me to a pod, right? A regular pod. I think it was like 3,300 at the time. And they moved me in with this
How did you get to
girl.
this? How did you get their attention?
They just moved me.
They just realized that, oh,
Yeah.
shit, this is not crazy.
I guess. I don't know. They just moved me, like, finally. So then I go, and then they start giving my stuff. Like, I was like, I don't have anything, like, all this stuff. So they give my stuff, and they move me in there with a girl named Nancy. And this was crazy. Crazy. Like, tweaker crazy. You know what I'm talking about? Like, the J-Cats. Like, I didn't know what a J-Cat was before, but now I know. I'm like,
Shit.
the hell? I'm like, what's up with this? I was like, something's like definitely like not right. Like, I don't know what the irony is like about me going into a room with my name on it. Like I didn't know what it was. I was like, it's gotta be the devil or something. Like, is there a devil? Is it? I was like, what is it? So then I'm like very in denial about everything that's going on, right? Like, they're giving me food and I'm like, I'm not eating this. Like, I'm not eating these chips. I'm not eating any of this. So I started like dropping weight because like, I was like, dude, I used to wax everything. Like, I was just so bougie, like so high maintenance, like that I was like, okay, I'm not eating this food and I'm not using these razors. Like, I was like thinking, I'm gonna get out. And then it like little by little, I started getting broken down, like forced. Like, of course I had to eat. And then I started to adjust, right? But I went through like, when I first got there, like I just slept I slept for like 3 months.
Well, you have to.
Yeah.
You were so tired.
I didn't.
So tired. You were on drugs nonstop. Your body was done.
Yeah, I slept.
You think you're a bougie bitch, but you're all fucked up.
Yeah, exactly. I was still like I said, I was like a functional addict, you know, and like it was more or less because I had been doing it since I was so young, you know, like I didn't want my family getting me in trouble. I learned how to hide things at a very young age, so I just got better at it. But it was like fucking up my head.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I literally slept for like 3 months, like. And then I started like getting my energy back, and I started like, okay, getting everything back. And then I was like, dude, like, what am I gonna do? Like,
who am I?
Yeah, like, what am I doing? What's happening? Like, and I was like, I didn't have nobody to turn to but God. Like, I would see my brother at court, like I live for those freaking moments, right? And then like, so people started like the cops in there, they would hear like the court and they'll be like, damn, like that's up, like your brother's just protecting you against this person, right? And and like, so people knew what it was like, but they didn't understand why they were trying to give us so much time. But it was during a Trump being elected, like election time. And then also I had 3 family members at that same court all convicted of life. So
So the judge was treating you guys like if you were them.
Exactly. Like, it wasn't like had I probably, like, they never knew my name or anything, my family's name or anything, I wouldn't have, we probably would have gotten treated, hopefully, I mean, a little differently, right? But no, everything was against us from day one. That was like, that whole year was like, just, I never believed in like a spiritual warfare or anything like that, but that shit was crazy. Like, anything that could have went wrong, like regarding the case, my attorneys, the DA, the people that, it was like they're like using our life and their little chess piece. Like, they tried to give me a public defender that was the DA's best friend. And there, you know what she said? She spoke to me in the tank in front of everybody, didn't even pull me out, and was like, just take the 15 years because you're gonna get life. If you go to trial, you're gonna get life. They have this on you, that on you. And I was like, aren't you supposed to be my attorney? And she's like, are you gonna throw your life away for other people? Because they only got me and my brother. There's 3 other people allegedly involved, right? And she's like, you're gonna throw your life away for other people, this and that, and blah blah blah. I'm like, well, if that's the way you want to see it, then I guess that's just the way it is. And like, because I knew it was my responsibility. Like, I was like, only person that should be doing time is me, because the only reason why anybody was there was because of me, because I was stupid. Like, it wasn't nobody else's fault. It wasn't my brother's. Like, I tried to do everything that I could, like, to like put it like my brother wasn't there. And I was like, there's nothing that they can do. Like, they can't see him. They're like, well, the victim is saying that he was there, you know,
because he went to court.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't have anything to do, like, so besides pray to God. And I was like, God, if you're real, like, I'm gonna get to know you. I'm like, I need something, I need help, because I don't have like my brothers in this, you know, like, it wasn't just me. Like, I feel like if it was just me, maybe I would have like went a different way, kind of. So I just started praying. I started like reading. I read the Bible from front to back, like, and I was just like staying like like my mental like was getting stronger, you know. I was getting stronger. I was learning how to like figure things out, like understanding, like reflecting on everything that went wrong. Like, everything just started flooding in, you know, started making sense, kind of. But I was just like, I don't know what's gonna happen to me. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I was like, but I was like, if God is real, then, because I had read the book The Secret before. Have you heard of it?
I read it before.
Yeah, so I had read it. So I was like, they say this works, I'm going to do it. So I would write every single day. I would put it, like, everywhere I'm going to look, I would put the toothpaste on the paper and put it. And I said, I will go home. I will go home. I will go home. And I would look at it and I would write it. And I would, like, not eat until, like, 10 o'clock. And I would, like, pray to God, like, let me go home, let my brother go home, let me go home, right? So I just put all my faith in that, right? Into manifesting. And like, I just manifested, and it was hard, right? Because I had to go through like all this like shit in there, right? And like,
what kind of shit are you going through in there?
All these ups and downs,
like people?
Yeah, with people, like,
with girls.
So well, yeah, because like people would hate on me, of course, right? And then, like, people would try to use me because I still have, like, some of my tricks from back then. Like, there was, like, one guy that found me there. He was like, I will go to the club every day looking for you, and you would never show up. And he found me in jail.
So he would send you money?
Yes, he was sending me hella money all the time. So I had all this stuff, and, like, people started trying to get territorial over me, and, like, I don't want to be. I was like, dude, these bitches are crazy.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
This shit is crazy. And then they would get upset that I wouldn't want to be with them.
Yeah.
And they're like, I was just like, this is too much. Like, I'm like, I'm not like, I don't care if people like, I have a lot to give. Like I have money coming in. Like it's nothing. Like I'm not trying to be greedy, but like they would start trying to get territorial over me.
How long
and
did you
shit.
fight your case for?
A year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you get sentenced to?
A home invasion.
No.
So what I got sentenced to is technically, so they gave me 9 years for the 211 and 6 years for the 459, but because I took 2 strikes, they ran them concurrent. So I had to do 9. I got out in 6.
So you did 6 years. Okay.
So I did 6 years. So I got
And you
out.
had 2 strikes.
I had 2 strikes.
Oh, that's scary.
Yes. That's why I was like, I need a change in here. Otherwise, I'm.
Yes.
And it was so, like, I know you know, like, how hard it is in there. There's so much. There's, like, temptation. There's triggers. Like, there's just, like, setup for failure in there. It's a setup for failure. And, like, the longer you go, the harder it gets because you adjust to being in there. You accept being in there.
So you get sentenced to 6 years. Well, you said 6 years?
9 years.
9 years, and you did 6. So, and then you go, where did you go?
I went to Chowchilla.
Is that where you did your whole 6 years?
No, I did. I was there for like, I think like 8 months, and then I went to CIW, and then from CIW, I went back to Chowchilla, and then from Chowchilla I went to McFarland. McFarland closed down, and then I went back to Chowchilla, and then that's when I went to the ankle monitor program, the CCTRP, and that's where I got released from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about your prison time. Tell me about Chowchilla when you get there.
Okay, so I was happy, right? Because I was like, yes, like, oh, so like my I'm not getting life, like I'm gonna get out and this and that. So I was like excited, and then so I go and I'm like, okay, I'm like, I get there and I'm like, oh, this. I was like, this place is a 8-man cell. Like it was like a horror movie. Like you're walking, it was like watching the movies. Like you're walking down the hallway, and then all these people are at their windows because they're like these huge windows, and they're all like staring like what room you're gonna go into, whatever, right? And then like, so I go in there, and then I was there for 3 months. Like, oh, you can't use the phone or nothing like that. And I was like, okay, like this isn't that bad. Like they have like food and stuff, like better food and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, it's better when you get over the wall.
Other girls always say that.
It's better when you go over the wall, all this stuff. Dude, I go over the wall and I get like put in like the craziest room. Like ISU's hitting it every day. Like
The girls are just wilding out in there.
yes, I was like, I don't know what's in here. I don't know what I'm about to go to jail for. I'm just like,
You're already in jail?
Yeah. So then it was like,
So it means the girls were cool.
yeah, they're cool. They're cool. Everything was good. I was just like, damn, like I get put in a room and I'm like thinking like, I get there and I'm like, oh my God, I'm sitting on a gold mine in here. And I'm like thinking like, damn, there's a lot of money to be made in here. Like that's just what I'm thinking about, because I'm still in that mentality. And I was like, and I think like, because I was thinking like that, just God just took me and was like, nope, you're not staying there.
Yes.
Because that was like the worst room worst room that I could have landed in, just for the sake of my freedom, because I was already plotting. I was already had a phone. Like it was like, okay, how am I gonna do this, and this, and like I was acting on it. And then one day I get a trans packing ducky, and they're like, you're going over there. And I was like, what? They said I had to be here for a year because of my points. And I was like, I don't want to go, right? And then so I ended up, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go there and I could get a write-up and come back. So then I'm just like, so then I go there and then I land in the worst room possible that I could, because I'm with the slammer now that's clucking everything. We don't even got a fan in there. Like at least in Chowchilla, they had like swamp coolers, so it was like a little bit cooler in there, right? But in CIW, they have no air conditioning, nothing. It's just so hot. And I just remember I got there and I was like so hot. I was just like, fucking give me a little breeze, something. And then the person that I was with was a USO, right? But they were like drugged out, like they didn't have nothing. And then so then they're like slamming in the room. There's blood squirting. I was like, I gotta get out of here. Like, yeah, it was bad. And I was just like, this is crazy. Like, I was like, dude, I don't even know if I'm gonna make it out of here. Like, and then so then I was just like, I was really angry. And then
Did you get in any fights?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, I started getting really angry, and then I started, I got a phone right away. I started getting high, and then I started fighting, right? And like the things I would get in fights for was like not even like, it was just stupid. Like it wasn't even anything that had to do with me half the time, or like I didn't realize that I had a hard time living with people until I went to prison, and I was always fighting with my roommates. And then I would talk to my brother on the phone, and he's like, why do you always have different roommates or cellmates, bunkies, whatever, right? And then people always get mad at me for saying roommates, because they're like, it's not a room. I'm like, well, I'm sharing a room.
They're roommates. Yeah.
So he's like, Nancy, I have something to tell you. And I'm like, what? He's like, if you always have a different cellie, the problem isn't them. The problem is you. And I was like, oh. I was like, no. And then, but I really sat on it and I thought about it, and I was like, it is me. Like, it's me, right? And so somebody knows my dad from in there, right? And I had like a cellie at the time. And then she had pulled me to the side, and she's like, the whole 3 years that she's been here, I've never seen her get in a fight. And she's like, you're not going to go home. She's like, you just got here. She's like, you just got here, and I seen you dragging her out the room. And I'm like, well, no, it's because this. I'm always blaming people. I don't know how to take accountability yet. I'm just like, no, it's because of her. It's because this. It's because she did this or that, this, that. You could breathe wrong, and I have a problem with it. I'm just like a bitch, I guess, And
and you're dumb.
Yeah, and I think I'm a power tripper. I think I was a power tripper back then. Like it was like a territorial thing. Like, I felt like, because I'm still in survival mode, I'm just like, okay, like I said, I'm a fighter. So then she's like, I know your dad, like, I'm never going home, but, and she's like, you could go home one day, and like, this doesn't have to be your life, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So then, like, they started like telling me little. The lifers. The lifers started telling me things, and then I lived with the lifer, and she taught me a lot, like. So I started picking things up off of other people, and then just over time, I was just like getting tired, because I was like learning how to make white lightning. I always wanted to make money, like, of course. And I started getting high, started getting in trouble. But it was like weird. Anytime I would get high, like, I would get in trouble. Yeah, I would always get in trouble. Like, the cops would know or something. Like, and I was like, maybe that was just God having His hand on me. Like,
that's right.
I didn't fall into like any like deep, like, any drug runs that I had were very short lived. Like, I could not stay if I wanted to, because something would always happen. I would get written up about this, that, and the other. Like, so yeah, I would do things here and there, and like, I was still fucking around. But then, like, eventually, like, my son would come see me, and he's like, Mommy, when are you coming home? And I knew my date was going further and further. So my original release date was October of 2023, and I was already within that first year, I was already in the middle of 2024. My max out was 2025. So my date was going out further and further. And then he's like, Mommy, when are you coming home? And I would lie to him. I'm like, in 6 more Christmases. And like, I started realizing, like, why am I like being defeated by like this place? Like,
And it's not even by this place, it's yourself.
Yeah. Like, why am I doing like this, And then so I started like trying to change my life around. And then I think probably like the better I tried to do, the harder it got.
It's how it is.
Yeah.
Like, how much do you want? How much do you want it? Mm-hmm. How much do you want to find yourself? How much do you want to love yourself? You want to, like, that's when people say, like, getting sober is not easy, because getting high is for the weak. No offense,
Yeah,
guys.
it
Just
is.
saying.
It is. It's a crutch. It's just to escape your reality and all this stuff.
Like, take it.
Yeah.
Take that shit. Take it like a G, you know? This is what we did. This is the stuff we did to put ourselves in these situations. And this is what we got to go through to come up on the top.
So one day I just had like this little like urge, like I wonder if I could go to fire camp. Like I know I'm a violent offender. I know like the staff, like my first committee, I was like, well, can I get my vial removed? They're like, no, you can never go to fire camp because you have a vial. Dude, my counselor was like, oh, she's wants me to recommend her to get her vial removed, but she's heartless and all this, like going against me in the committee. And I'm like, the hell? Well, that committee, the captain, the guy there, he asked me, he's like, why did you do it? And I'm like, well, because he was not a good man. He was an abusive man. Like, you see what it says that I did on paper, he was worse. And then nothing. They never told me nothing. Like, so I just thought, so 3 years into my term, one day I'm like, I'm just going to go talk to the fire camp counselor just to see what they say. Because they're like, you get halftime if you go or whatever, right? So, like, I just had, like, this urge to go, like, this, like,
and you listen to yourself,
yeah. So I went, and they're like, you don't have a vial. It was removed in 2017. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, nobody ever told you. So that first committee, they removed it without telling me. And, like, they never let me know anything. He's like, right now your points are too high. He's like, but if you can stay right up free for this amount of time to, like, and it was like 3 months or something, like, your points will drop down 6 or 12, however many. He's like, it'll drop down and I can have you in there. And I was like, no way. I was like so excited and everything.
Something to look forward to.
Yeah, something to look forward to. And I was like thinking like, oh my God, I could actually go home, like, you know, and like I'm not gonna have to do 9 years or whatever. So I started getting happy, and of course I written up for some dumbass shit, me not having my ID or something, right? And then so right before, like, and so I got written up. I had to do a whole nother year or something like that. I think, yeah, it's a year. And then so I had to do a whole nother year for my points to drop down where they needed to be. So like within that year, like I was still like trying to do good. Like I was programming. Like I worked in the kitchen, but I was still trying to do. Oh, I started doing college. Like, and then every class that you completed, you got 3 weeks off. So I was like really focused on that, you know?
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I started doing college there, and that's what helped me. It helped me expand my mind. I started to grow, and then sure, but still, you know, you have like a little foot in, a little foot out. You're still kind of like, you know, doing little things here and there. And so long story short, right before like I was gonna go to fire camp, like even the counselor's like, all right, you're doing good. I'm gonna pull you in a month early for you to go, right? And the room that I was in, it was kind of a little bit active, and I was like, she's not being smart about her stuff. Like, she's getting high. Like, it's not gonna come out good if I'm in this room, right? So I moved to a different unit, right? And so when I moved to that different unit, I don't know, something wasn't right. Something wasn't feeling right. My brother had just got hit at his prison. They got his phone and everything, and like something just didn't feel right to me. So long story short, I was like using the phone, and I was like, something's not right. Like, I just felt it, right? And then boom, sure enough, it was an institutional lockdown. I'm in the kitchen at the time, and then like, so I go in whatever, lockdown, right? But I was cool with the staff, and like he let my door open, and it was a 2-man cell with 3 people in it, and ISU came to.
Why?
So they came to get me, right? They came to get me. So it looks bad already. There's 3 people in there freaking too. She's like, why are there 3 people in here? And I'm like, right? So they hit my room. They do not take me. They don't take me. They don't find anything. They did take my stuff. I did have like stuff, like contraband, right? Like clothes that were like from the outside, you know, shit like that. And like So they take it, but they didn't take me. So I'm like, the hell? Like, what the hitting my room for? So like, I'm literally like in shock, because I'm like, I'm actually trying to do good, and I'm like, right before something good is gonna happen for me, like this is gonna happen. So like, I'm tripping because now I don't trust anybody, because I'm like, I don't know what's happening, right? So I don't trust nobody. So I'm just like, something's off, right? So I'm just like trying to like move through the day, and the next day I'm like sitting in the room, and just something's just off, and I see the ISU people on the freaking cart, and I was like, they're gonna come arrest me right now, like they're gonna come get me. And I knew it. So I sat there and I waited in my room, and then they just came, they opened the door, and they're like, cuff up. And I was like, why? And then they're like, cuff up. And I was like, why? What'd I do, right? So I go in there, and they're like questioning me. They're questioning me, telling me if I don't tell them my relation to certain people, which is a family member of mine, right, that they're gonna validate me. And I'm like, what? They're like, what's your relation to this person? And I was like, I don't have to tell you that, because I don't even know why you're bringing this person up, right? So they're questioning me about family, right? So I'm like thinking, this has to do with my brother or something, right? And then I was like, no, like these are my relatives, and like that's it. So I know they cannot validate you like for that, right? Not anymore, at least. And then they started telling me, so how much are you selling your phones for? How much you making? I'm like, what phones? What phones are you talking about? It's like, oh, so you're not getting phones through a staff member and selling them on the yard? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And I was like, and that's not what you were asking me about in the beginning of this. So why are you telling me this now? So I was very confused, right? And then so they're like questioning me, but they're not telling me anything, right? And I'm like, I'm so then they take me to shoe, right? And I'm like telling the person like, you gotta I was like, you gotta like call my mom and tell them like they're taking me, right? I'm not gonna be able to use the phone. So then they take me back there, and then like they're not telling me who the officer is or whatever.
Yeah.
They don't even, my first lockup order doesn't even say anything like that. It says criminal activity, right? So it's not there for like staff over familiarity. It's like every time I get a lockup order back there, it's for something crazy, right? And so like I knew one of the cops back there, and I'm like, who am I back here for? Like, who am I back here for? Like, tell me. And then so he tells me, he signs it to me, right? And I was like, okay, because they said that they walked them off. And I was like, how are they walking this person off? Like, I'm in a completely different unit. Like, so allegedly what was being said is that I was getting cell phones through a staff member, and that we got caught doing it, right? But I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense though, because why are they asking me about this if this has nothing in relation? So it didn't make sense. So I was like, if they got something from my room or found something in my room, then how come they didn't take me that day?
Yeah.
They took me the next day, but I mean, I did have like spiral notebook paper. I had it like where it looks sealed, but it wasn't. Like I could open it, and there was a hole there for a phone, but they didn't get the phone.
Yeah.
But so that's the only thing that they had on me. So they kept me back there. They wouldn't tell me exactly why. And they're just like questioning me, like, where's the phone? Like this.
Over a
that.
phone.
Yes. Where's the phone? And this and that. And then the staff, like the staff back there, they're like telling me like, oh, they're just saying things about family members, right? And I'm like, why is everybody asking me about these people?
Yeah.
I'm like very confused. I'm confused. Am I back here because of this, or am I back here because of that? Like, why am I really back here? Why isn't it saying on my lockup order? Every time you get a lockup order, you get rolled over 60 days. Well, I got like 4 of them back there. So I'm like, I'm going to be back here all year. And then I was so irritated because they could not give me no straight answers, and I had no idea.
Nobody knew.
No, because they're trying to just figure out probably what they could get from me or something or whatever.
So what ended up happening?
What ended up happening was I was back there for, they can't keep you past 90 days, but they didn't let me know that because I kept getting a new lockup order. And then my last lockup order was like that I had access to sensitive information that could breach operations.
And you had no idea what the fuck.
I'm like, what the is this? So then I'm back there and they're like, oh, you have an attorney visit. And I'm like, oh, hell no. Like, I don't have no attorney coming to see me. Like, what are they going to do to me?
Like you thought you were getting this other case.
I don't know what the hell is happening. Like, I'm like, what the So then they're telling me through the vents, they're like, it's internal affairs. And I'm like, should I go or not go? And they're like, go so you could see what it is.
Yeah.
So I go. And they're like, there's a person asking me a question, and then there's another person observing me. Like, so it's internal, there is an outside agency, internal affairs or whatever, and they're like questioning me. They're questioning me about my life, my upbringing, who's my mom and dad, who's my brother. Like, they're asking me information, like, so they could see, like, I know what they're doing. They're trying to see how I look and how my responses are when I'm telling the truth. And then how my responses are if I'm lying. Mm-hmm. So that's what they were doing. So then they start getting into it. Like, oh, do you know who officer this is? Do you know officer that? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, I know who they are. And they're like, well, who is he? I'm like, well, he's one of our housing people.
Duh.
Whatever. So past the 90 days, they couldn't keep me. It was inconclusive, but they still shipped me out. Right? That guy never went back. I don't know if he went to, they say that he went to a different prison or something. So after that, like, I kind of went through like a little depression thing, and I'm like, damn, like, I'm not gonna be able to go to fire camp. Like, I was like, why do I try? Why am I gonna try if like nothing good is gonna happen? Like, I might as well just be like everybody else and like living my best life, like not caring because they don't get in trouble, I'm getting in trouble, kind of thing, right? So then they ship me to Chowchilla, and then I'm there, and they're like, they're probably gonna ship you out again because, so they I still have 5 years left. They ship me to a freaking prison that's less 5 years and less. Everybody's going home, and then the sergeant's like, oh, I don't know why they sent you here. I'm not supposed to be telling you this, but the only way you're gonna get out of here without getting a write up is go triple CMS. We don't have triple CMS here, and I was like, I can't go triple CMS.
What the heck is triple CMS?
Mental health, like where you need medications. I was like, I can't go triple CMS. Like, no, like I'm not gonna go triple CMS to get out of here. He's like, and then I get there and I'm like, what's wrong with this place? Because everybody's like scaring me. Like, I was like, this place is like the person in there like sweeping, I knew her from the other prison, and she's like, I was like, how long have you been here? She's like, if you have more than 3 years, you need to go. She's like, you need to go. Like, she was like looking down. She wouldn't make eye contact with me. And she's going like this. And I'm like, what the f-? She's like, you need to get out of here. She's like, I hate it here. And dude, I guess they could hear through the freaking vents. They're watching you in the cameras. Like, everybody's so paranoid. Like, right there, you can't go to the bathroom in peace. Like, the cop can see you at all times. It's a dorm living. I went from being in SHU to a freaking dorm with 72 people in there. That shit, I never had anxiety before, but that gave me anxiety. So I was like, what's wrong with me? They end up closing that prison down. Then I go back to Chowchilla. It's fucking COVID. And that shit was a mess. I lived in the span of time that I was there, which was another 8 months before I went to that program. I lived on every single yard. You know how stressful that shit was to be moved around like that, not knowing whose room I'm gonna get put in. All it, like, I had so much anxiety that I think I was gonna have a stroke, because one day, like, I was like passing out, and I was like, I'm like not. It
was too much
good.
For you.
Yeah, because it was like almost on C Yard in Chowchilla. I lived in every unit in like less than 2 months. And then I go to another yard. Then I finally get COVID on Christmas Eve. I get sent to quarantine, and I'm back there in quarantine for over 20 days until I catch COVID. And then they have me in another quarantine, right? So anyways, long story short, even when I get to that prison, it's like hell. It's like literally hell. Like, lady in the committee is like, why doesn't she have a bio? She's like, She's like, she should have a vial. Why doesn't she have a vial? She's like, I'm going to personally take your case in front of the warden and have your vial reinstated. And I'm like, why are you going to do that? And she's like, because I think you're violent. That's why. And I was like, what the So, but it was because the laws were changing. So people that didn't have a vial were going to get 30 per 30. So every 30 days that they did, they got 30 days off. And I guess...
Oh, that was good.
Yeah. And that would qualify me for it. So she's like, I'm going to personally take... And I was like, what the So I didn't understand. I was like, damn, like, forget me going to fire camp at this point. They're never going to let me go. They won't let me go. Like, I already tried to ask them about it. I'm eligible. My points are down. I don't have a vial. There's no reason for them to deny me. They just keep making up a reason, right? So when I brought up the fire camp thing, she said she was going to reinstate my vial. So I'm like, okay, something's telling me not to even bring up CCTRP because I'm like trying to go to there. So I don't bring it up. So the reason why they weren't able to reinstate my vial is because they brought me to that committee before the other one, which was like, I was anxious too because I was like, fuck, I hope they bring me to this committee before the other one kind of thing. So eventually, like a few months in, like not a few, like 6-7 months, like they finally bring me to committee and they're like, okay, like you're gonna go. And I was like, oh my God, I'm finally getting out of prison, right? So I'm like, I'm about to get out. And then like all this quarantine, then that shit gets prolonged for like another 3 months. It's just I was so anxious to get out. Like I wanted to get out because I was like on the verge of like, cause you can't go outside. I'm in isolation. Then I'm not in a 2-man cell anymore. I'm in a room with 7 other bitches, angry bitches that don't get to talk to their family, that are not getting their visits, that are not able to go outside. Like it's crazy.
Oh God.
So then like one day I'm just like, I'm passing out. Like I don't feel good, right? And I was like, something's wrong, right? So I'm like, I don't know, something's wrong. All night I was like, had the chills, like sweating, and I was like, something's wrong with me, right? So then they call the medical, right? And they take my vitals and stuff, and like my heart rate was past 100 and something. And I'm telling you, like, I'm dizzy. Like, anytime I get up, like, I'm about to faint. So I think I was just so anxious, and then I wasn't going outside or anything. So it was just like all this shit going on.
All the stress.
Yeah, all the stress. And then like this happened right before I left. And I think like it was just too much on my body, and like they just thought I was like on drugs or something. Like they didn't want to help. And I was like thinking, dude, I was probably on the verge of having a stroke or
because you didn't use drugs at the time.
No, I stopped using drugs in 2019, and I've been sober ever since. Like, yeah, I'll drink here and there, but anything else, I don't do it at all, right? And then I go to the CCTRP. And that was like, I was so happy, but I didn't really get the benefits or the opportunities that program has to offer. And the men have it completely different, because my brother ended up going within like 30 days or however many days he was there. He was able to get a job. He was able to work. He was able to leave and
like be free. You mean the free world? Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't able to do any of that. I stayed inside the entire time. Like,
but at least you weren't in prison anymore.
Yeah, exactly. At least I wasn't in prison. And then like 2 weeks before I was about to go home, they caught me with the phone, which we're not allowed to have.
Well, you should have followed the rules.
I know, which we weren't allowed to have.
I'm like the worst person to tell that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the worst. I'm like the super mom.
Knew
like,
it.
That's what you get.
I knew I shouldn't have done it, but I was like pissed because I'm like, dude, my brother gets to have a phone, laptop.
That's just the way it works, bro.
And I'm like, no, that. Like, I want to talk to my family. They were still only giving you one 15-minute phone call there. And I was like, no, like, I need to talk to, like,
so how
whatever.
long have you been out, like, free?
2 years now. So.
And what are you doing now? Let's get to what you're doing now, because we're running out of time.
Okay,
bro.
yeah. Okay, so.
Hey, you're all nervous, but you've been talking out of your ass.
Okay, so I just graduated. I got 3 associate's degrees.
Good for you.
I have one in kinesiology, psychology, general studies with the emphasis in social and behavior sciences. I go to Cal State LA, and now I have my own business.
Good for you. Yes.
I'm so happy. And it was just like such a struggle to get here. But I know now how to cope with life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know how to emotionally regulate myself. I understood what went wrong, why it went wrong, and how I totally did all that to myself. And So I don't blame anybody for anything. So if I can do it, anybody else can do it. Anybody
Yes.
else. And like,
Yes.
so like I'm not done with my education journey. It was very hard to adjust to, like the first year, like the first couple months, like it was very hard, but I just went on this healing journey. And like I did work with a lot of medicines, like with shamans and stuff when I got out. And then like, so it's like Native American or like what other tribes and stuff use um for healing, right?
Okay.
So like at first, like it just kind of got introduced to me and it came to me. So like, but it changed my life. It really did. Like so I used to be very, very like I still had like anger and stuff, you know, and I had a lot of anxiety. Like I could not go to the store. Like I couldn't hold random conversations with people. Like I would just be like so anxious. Like I could not talk about myself at all. Like I couldn't talk about anything that I went through. I felt like a fish out of water, kind of like a stranger in my own home. Like everything was totally changed. Like just life wasn't what I thought it was gonna be, like how I imagined it, right? Everything was different. And then I couldn't talk to my brother because I couldn't be around him or we would go back to prison because they said like it's not it's a parole violation, right? And so then that was stressful. And then so like I started to before I when I was in the program I started taking like a class, and my brother helped me pay for it, and it was for personal training because I was like I like to work out, so that's what helps me. That's my mental health. Like that was the only thing that got me out of prison, straight up. I started working out and that was my everyday, my sanity. Like that's how I coped with my time. And it made me stronger. And so I was like, when I get out, I'm gonna just focus on that. I'm gonna be a personal trainer. Like I'm gonna do this. Like I'm gonna, like I was like, that's what's really wrong with this whole prison or this whole world. Like nobody's exercising. Like no, these bitches don't exercise. Like everybody's just getting fat. They're eating. They're doing drugs. They're getting girlfriends. They're not really like we're not a man is not supposed to be trapped in, like we're able to do these things because we're supposed to be doing these things, like, you know. And I was like, that's why we have all this this energy that we're not exerting in a positive way, so it's gonna come out in a negative way. So
For sure.
in order for me to stop fighting and being angry, I had to work out every day. So that helped me. So I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to continue going to school. I wasn't really sure if I wanted to continue going to college. I was like, but this is what I'm going to do. So I got out and I just focused on that. Like I focused on finishing and I got my certification in it and I started doing it. And I was like, I'm going to continue to go to school because I don't have nothing else to do and I don't know what else to do. Like I don't talk to any of my old friends. I'm not like fucking with anybody because nobody was there for me. And like, I'm not going to go out there and like do the same thing I was doing, right? I can't afford it. I have 2 strikes. So
Facts. That part.
yeah, I cannot. And so I stayed going to school, and dude, school changed my life. It like I think that is so important. It helps you get to know yourself when you don't know yourself, right? It tells you what you like, what you don't like. It exposes you to things that you're just not even aware of, right? Like I didn't know I was gonna like philosophy. Like I didn't know that I wasn't gonna like science. Like, you know, like I don't know. You don't know until you try, right? And where I was coming from, like it wasn't like that. Like nobody tried anything. So that helped me, and I'm still continuing it because like that's the only thing I know how to do, and it's what helped me, and it's getting me places. And so with the healing stuff, like I started to do like this thing called combo. It came to me, and it's like, so they use it like in Peru, like the Amazonian forest, and it's like it's a secretion from a frog, right? And they burn you, like they burn like a little hole, and they put the medicine on you, and it's like a full lymphatic like reset, right? So it's not a psychedelic or anything like that. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but at that point it came to me and I was like struggling. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
If I used to do something else in the past, might
yeah,
as well.
so I was like, I'm gonna do it. So I go, they like cleanse me, whatever, like with the sage, and then dude, they gave me the medicine and I was like, fuck this. Why did I do this? Like it's not comfortable. I passed out, which
It's like you open up or what?
it's like it causes your body to purge. So whatever your purge is, like if it's sweating, it gets you to throw up, right? And because our body holds a lot of trauma. It holds a lot of trauma, and I didn't realize it until after I did it. And even after the first time I did it, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna do that again. I don't know what just happened, right? And then it was the aftermath, like the next day. Like I was at such a peace. I never felt that way. Like I was completely unbothered by anything. Like I was so positive. I've never felt that positive before. And I was like, I don't know what I released, but it helps.
But dang, let me do it again.
So you do it 3 times in a lunar cycle. So like if you do it on Sunday, you do it Sunday, 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 right? And by the second time that I did it, my brother's like, dude, you're different. Like even my mom's like, what happened? Like I was a totally different person. Like this heaviness that I was still carrying with me, it was not there. Like my body was releasing it. And that's like what the medicine is for. Like when they're sick out there, when they have like a cold, when they have anything like that, they don't take medicine. They do that. And because it causes your body to detox itself, right? So I think I was holding a lot of stuff, and like it helped me release it. So I was like, oh shit. So my brother ended up doing it, and his life changed. So it just changed my life, and like it works. And I just like, I think that I was like even trying to learn how to do it, because I was like, I think that everybody that gets out of prison should do this kind of thing. But then I was like, I don't want to be messing with nobody's energy. Like that's too much responsibility for me. Like that's not me, right? But like it helped me, it helped my brother, like. And if it's only if you're ready, though, it's not like this magic cure.
I understand what
you
you're
know
saying.
What I'm saying?
Yeah.
You gotta surrender to it. You gotta be ready. You gotta want different. Like it's your mental just as much as the medicine. You gotta be in alignment.
Yeah,
So
of
once
course.
I did that, like I was more positive. I didn't have anxiety like that, and like I just like progressed, and I finished school, and then like Kendrick Lamar was at my graduation, and I just felt like in alignment. Like I started realizing like, okay, like this is where I'm supposed to be. Now I'm starting to see the fruits of my labor. Like, and then I got into the eyebrow industry, right? And I do PMU and like brow lamination, wax and tint. And now I'm just like, I'm full force doing it.
Good for you.
It's been a journey, and I'm very proud of myself because of everything that I've overcome, and I'm just glad that I'm not letting all that I went through go to waste. And I don't think that anybody should either.
Yes.
I don't think that God puts you through these things for no reason. Like he gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers.
That's right.
And you cannot be defeated, and you cannot be labeled by the system. Like this is my way of fighting back. Like you guys say that I wasn't gonna amount to anything. You guys are saying I'm this on paper, I'm that, and I'm not those things, and I'll never be limited. And they're not gonna limit me because I'm a felon.
Yep.
They're not. And like we all have the same 24 hours in a day as like the most successful people.
That's right.
In the world. And it's really just how you value your time and what you're doing with it, who you're choosing to be around. It's like your life is a choice.
That's right.
Your life is a choice, and your response is the reason you exist. Like that's what Nipsey Hussle says, and I live by that. So like I just think that there should be more of us like speaking now. And this is the whole reason why I wanted to even do this, is because I just feel like my story needs to be heard to help other people. Like I've been through domestic violence. I've been through being homeless as a kid, like not like all being biracial, all this stuff, right? I can connect to a lot of different people. And I just think that the whole reason why I even went through any of this was for this right here. It's to help other people, because life is not only about us. It's not.
No.
It's far from that. And I think that a lot of people have that like misconstrued, especially nowadays. Like we're very selfish, like, but we're never happy though, right? We can have this, have that, have this, that and other.
You're never happy.
You'll never be satisfied, because we weren't put here only for ourselves. We're here. We all have a purpose.
That's right.
And we all have a gift, and it's just a matter of figuring it out. Like, now it's a choice to be ignorant. You have a phone. You have all this access to information. If you want to stay ignorant, then you will.
Yeah.
You know, but it's nothing's an excuse, and I'm just looking forward to just keep elevating.
And you will.
Yeah.
It died? Okay.
But yeah, so
That's good. Yeah. Yes, I love that. I love that you're so open to it. I'm sure, like you said, it took you a while to be here, but you're still young. You still have your whole. You're probably not even 30 yet.
I'm 30.
Oh, I'm 30.
I'm 30.
You're 30.
But it's that prison preserve, you know?
I get it. So it used to, but you're just 30. That's you're just over,
I know.
you're just over the kid age. You know, when
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, you're 40, you're old." Like when you're, "Dad, you don't look old." I'm not. I'm not old. I'm just not a kid. You know,
Yeah.
we're grown. We're just not kids anymore. But we still have so many years to go to grow more and, you know, do what we got to do for ourselves and for our kids.
Yes.
I'm proud of you. I don't
Thank
know you,
you.
and I'm just obviously got to know you, and
Yeah.
but I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome, and you're gonna continue to grow. You know, I wish I liked school, but I don't like school.
I mean, it's not for everybody, but you're doing good. You
Thank
know what
you.
I mean? Like,
Thank you.
you figure yourself out. That helped me direct me in a way where I could figure myself
Yeah.
out. So, like, if
Everybody's different.
if people are lost or people, like, don't know where to, like, I didn't know what the hell to do when I first came home. I'm like, I can't even get a job. I was like, I don't know what to do. I was like, well, the least I could do is just keep doing what I was doing in there.
Go to
And
school.
so it did open doors for me. It helped, like, get me back into the community, like, in a healthy way. And it gave me something to focus on.
Yes,
So
that part.
So yeah. So
Well, thank you for sharing.
you'll still, yeah. If you're in the LA area, you want your eyebrows done.
We're gonna put your Instagram on. Like,
Yeah.
Don't worry. We're gonna tag you. We'll tag all your pages and stuff like that. So
Okay.
you good. Get the girls. You know?
Yes.
And the guys. That's some that do it. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you again for sharing. I appreciate you.
For having me.
Of course. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram.